What's up, Lip Nation? This is episode SFTL 353. It was recorded on Tuesday, September 25th, 2018 at Baxter's 942 in the Highlands of Louisville, Kentucky. Guests, Lynn Greene, Emily Hagedorn, Jesse Vest, Rikki Little Erick Kleinhelter, Kevin Cummings, and some other guests. Once again, you can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We are also on YouTube, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, wherever you can get podcasts. Check out all our shows, like, follow us, rate us, do it all. Lip Nation, we appreciate your support. Peace out.
Let's get busy.
All right, guys, first segment, Shooting from the Lip, episode 353 here at Baxter's 942 for our on-site recording. It's September 25th, 2018. First up, Miss Lynn Greene. Lynn, what's up with you?
Well, thank you so much for having me, Kevin. There's nothing I love more than shooting from the lip. Literally, love to talk, and it's a pleasure to be here.
It's something you're involved with. I'm going to pronounce Oxybaric.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
Oxybaric.
This is I'm pulling it up here. It's an alternative and holistic health service.
Correct.
Elaborate. What's this all about?
So we offer something called Hyperbaric Oxygen, the mild variety, which is a treatment that allows people to climb in a chamber, get pressurized, and breathe oxygen for an hour. And so this treatment can help with a myriad of different things, but mostly it helps with inflammation and oxygenating tissue. And it's been an amazing journey for us. We got into it because my daughter was sick.
Really?
She had post-concussive syndrome, which is what happens when people get bonked on the head and then the symptoms just don't relieve. And so in her case, she had light sensitivity and headaches for 2 years.
Was that due to multiple or just maybe?
Well, she ended up having multiple, which is very, very common. But
Right.
the initial one was the one that caused the most damage, which was playing soccer,
Yeah.
which is becoming an increasingly large problem.
Yeah, it's with that whole, what do they call it? It's CTE,
That's
the
correct.
NFL, soccer. Yeah, there's, just to digress a little bit, where a lot of youth leagues are now starting to try to refrain from as much physical contact, and so, but yeah.
No, absolutely. And once a person's had a concussion, their likelihood of having a second concussion is over 50%, which is huge, because when you start looking at multiple brain injuries, then there's permanent damage, which we're seeing with the football players.
Right.
And it's a huge, epidemic. But she had been suffering from headaches for 2 years, and the doctors gave us the alternative, or the option, of taking blood pressure medication. And at the time, she was 14, and I was
Blood
like,
pressure.
no, you're not putting her on blood pressure medication.
But was her blood pressure an issue?
No, it was to control the headaches, was their
okay, it's just
rationale.
strictly- okay. Oh.
And so we went on a wild and crazy journey to try to treat and heal her, as opposed to mask her symptoms. And that's where we came upon hyperbaric oxygen. And at the time, I decided to hang out a shingle while I was treating her, and then it gently grew and grew and grew. The numbers of people that I'm helping vary from concussions to ex-NFL players that are trying to stave off CTE, to people with fibromyalgia and Lyme disease, chronic fatigue syndrome, people just that want to stay well.
Right.
They come see me also, just to keep their bodies in tip-top shape.
Again, we're here with Lynn Greene, Oxybaric, which is actually right kind of down the street from here.
That's
right?
correct.
How long have you been doing this?
3.5 years.
Okay. Oh, shit. And you're saying your daughter was kind of your
My guinea pig.
Yeah. Yeah.
For all intents and purposes, yes.
How is she though? Right now.
She is doing amazing.
Really?
Yes.
So this right here is, in a sense, you have proof.
Yes,
that
I
this-
have living proof
Yeah.
in my family.
Yeah. And so wow. So tell me more about this, because when it comes to the whole holistic and alternative type of healing, elaborate more. I mean, it's just not the whole chamber thing, but what is that whole mindset?
So the whole holistic world really tries to help people heal their bodies as opposed to masking symptoms, which I mentioned earlier.
Right.
So many of our traditional allopathic medicine, just you take a pill to mask a symptom or to cure one thing, and then it knocks something else off kilter. And so with holistic medicine, it's trying to heal the whole. And we talk about it at Oxybaric as a health journey, because you didn't get sick overnight.
No.
You're not going to get well overnight. And so, and no one thing is going to cure you. And so you're going to have to do multiple things. And I'm probably my world's worst salesperson, because I get on the phone with people all the time, and I'm really, really real with them about, well, this may help you, but it's not going to cure you, and you're going to need to do something else.
Yeah. Besides, there's a different type of mentality you gotta.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So how do you address that with someone who, take me for instance, science. I'm a science guy. So the notion of trying to find that inner type of motivation or mindset to go in that direction. How do you cope with us kind of people?
Well, so I call that the woo-woo factor. So there are different paths along that journey, that health journey, and there's different readiness to accept different modalities. And that's where it sort of comes into my intuition and getting to know someone to find out what they're ready for. And the nice thing about hyperbaric oxygen is it's been around for 150 years.
Has it
and
really?
So, yes. And so it's not something new. It is something that is being used increasingly for many different conditions. The FDA has approved 13 different conditions that they say beyond a shadow of a doubt it helps. And then there are tons of other modalities or conditions that it helps, but they haven't approved it yet by the FDA. And so that's where I have people being referred by Kindred Hospital because they won't treat them, but the people still want to pursue it because they've seen the data and they've seen the medical reports and they trust that it works. So there's not a lot of woo-woo factor in hyperbaric, but some of the other things there are.
Yeah, I have to ask, the insurance-wise, is this something that the insurance companies recognize? And
Only for those 13 conditions that are approved by the FDA.
Okay.
Those are mostly acute conditions, so
Right.
those would be handled by a hospital. So carbon monoxide poisoning, crush syndrome, diabetic wounds, gangrene.
what a rheumatoid arthritis? What something like that?
Okay, so
Because I'm a RA guy.
okay, well, I have all sorts of information for you,
Okay.
but it is not approved for RA because, as with any autoimmune disease, there's so many different factors that play in. So it is not covered by insurance for any off-label condition.
Gotcha.
But what we've been finding at Oxybaric is that the higher deductibles go, the more people are pursuing alternative methods because
That's a good point, too, yeah.
either they're going to pay $250 to go see a doctor who may or may not help them, or they're going to try something after they research it and determine that that's something that they think will help them in the long term have less issues that need to be medicated.
Right. You got on your Facebook page, 1 hour of HBOT is the equivalent of taking 40 ibuprofen, which I'm guilty as charged every day. 40 ibuprofen tablets without the toxic response. First, tell me what HBOT is,
Okay.
and then elaborate on that.
Okay. So HBOT stands for Hyperbaric Oxygen Therapy.
Okay, that's okay.
Okay, and that's just the reduction that keeps everything simpler for us. And the way that it works, the mechanism that allows it to be anti-inflammatory is the oxygen. But what makes it different is that when you're pressurized, it makes oxygen more soluble. So your lymphatic fluid, your cerebral spinal fluid, and your plasma all carry oxygen.
Right.
It's not just relying on the red blood cells. And so that's the huge factor, is that when the biggest enemy of inflammation is oxygen.
Yeah.
And so I have some people that'll get in the chamber and they get out and they're like, I feel fan-frickin-tastic. I mean, and they literally jig out. Now, if somebody's had inflammation...
Do they say frickin'? We're adults. You don't have to say frickin' on this show.
Actually, I had a 96-year-old woman that actually did a jig after she got out. It was adorable. She was like...
96?
Yes. Yes, her
Wow.
her daughter brought her in, and she was having breathing issues, and so by getting in the chamber, she was able to get oxygen to all these tissues that hadn't had enough oxygen for years, probably.
I'm definitely going to digress here because you just threw me a curveball. But people who are older, how much of this can, I don't know, help them at that older age that, maybe that extends life? I mean,
Oh, no, absolutely. So I mentioned my daughter. I didn't mention my dad. I was first introduced to hyperbaric oxygen when he had a stroke. He had a stroke. We caught it very early, and he was recovering, and I did all sorts of research, and I came across hyperbaric oxygen. And at the time, there was another practitioner that had a chamber, and I stuck him in there for 5 sessions, and it was nothing short of amazing. The recovery that he
stuck
made.
him in there.
I did.
I
Stuck him,
have this
zipped him in
visual.
there.
You're just like dragging him in. What is this? You got your daughter, your dad. It's like
I know. They're used to me. I'm always finding solutions in weird places.
Keeping
And sometimes,
keeping it-
and sometimes they roll their eyes at me.
But I would guess the fact that you have family members who are doing this, that that's a great selling point too. That you're approving this because your loved ones have partake in this.
Absolutely, and it's so mild. So the pressure that you're under when you're in the chamber is equivalent to being 15 feet underwater. So it's not super pressurized. It's just,
Claustrophobic.
people with claustrophobia definitely have an issue.
Okay.
The chambers, once they're inflated, I equate them to a camping tent. Not the camping condos, but a camping tent.
Right.
And if you can be zipped up in one of those, you're probably okay. If not, I have protocols. I have methods that I use on people. Lavender oil, sitting and talking. Just making sure they understand that they're in control.
So I'm assuming when they're in the chamber that you can actually communicate with them during this. Okay, so they can hear and speak back.
Absolutely, there are windows, and there, certain chambers are more appealing to certain people. I have one chamber that I prefer, and then there are other people that like to have the window to the side of them, and then there's one that has a window overhead, and it's just a preference.
Well, what's the dress code? I mean, how do you have to dress or go down to? You gotta.
Nope. You can wear whatever you want.
Okay.
I always tell people, don't wear tight jeans. You're going to be laying there for an hour, and you have to climb in it.
Yeah.
So you want to wear something comfortable. You'll be laying down. You can take your phone in. You can do a meditation. You can read a book. Whatever you would like.
That's interesting.
I've actually had people sing, do crunches. There's all sorts of...
I mean, you could actually physically be active in there. Can you?
Could there's enough room.
Okay.
I mean, it's like 36.
When you say crunches, they're actually...
They're doing crunches. I mean, I came in, I had no idea what was going on. There was all this loud racket. And then I peeked in, and there she was doing crunches.
Yeah. One thing we talked about too, actually on a Facebook post, you had posted something about anxiety.
Yes.
Jump in how someone with... I've got several friends who deal with that, and honestly, I've not been able to grasp it because I don't have it. I don't understand what triggers it, and how you go about,
Calming it down.
yeah.
So there can be all sorts of different routes to anxiety. It can be trauma, and trauma doesn't have to be being held up at gunpoint. It can be, somebody made fun of you in front of a classroom full of students. There's all sorts of different things that can sort of trigger that, and different people's bodies hold that in different ways.
So you're saying something something in the past
Could
have just, and it's
hijacked the brain.
your brain, so something will trigger that feeling or that moment. or
Absolutely.
whatever. Okay.
And so I have some folks that are claustrophobic, and we end up sort of brainstorming through the process of what's causing it. And I have practitioners I'll send people to if they want to clear that. And if they don't want that in their life anymore, because if you have a trigger like that, that trigger's always going on in the back of your brain. And it can be stirred up by any number of things, so which results in a lot of stress on your body and on your cells, and can leave you susceptible to illness. And so getting those things cleared out of the way also is just one more variable that is not adding to your, load of burden on your body.
Is it safe to say that big pharmaceutical companies are not buddies with people in your kind of work?
Definitely. And I think that it's, and I always try to explain this to people, that doctors and pharmaceutical companies are doing what they think is right. And it's just a matter of whether that's a philosophy that you believe in, or whether you want to look outside the box and see if there's something else that can be done. And, doctors have certain tools that they were taught in medical school, and then alternative practitioners have a different toolbox. And it's whatever feels right for you. And that's what I always express to people, is that any practitioner and any doctor, they're a consultant. Okay, and many people don't view their relationship with their doctor as a consultant. They're there to give you information, and then you can make a choice about your health. And some things are going to feel right, and some things are not going to feel right for you, and you can say no.
Yeah, but you're also assuming that role with your work too.
I am not. I am not.
You personally, but you have people who.
I do. I refer people all the time.
Right.
So I have a toolbox of people, and try to empower my clients to explore options and see what works for them. And some, it's a direct fit. Some it's not. And I'm a gatherer and a connector.
Right.
So what I do is I gather information, I give people information, and then they can decide whether that works for them. And sort of circling back to the anxiety component, there's a very prevalent imbalance that can happen, and it seems to be more women are more prone to it, but it's referred to as copper toxicity. And when a woman has too much copper in her body, it makes her very prone to extreme PMS, to depression, anxiety, because this copper is floating around in her body, and then when estrogen hits it, it sets it on fire. And that's one thing that traditional
Some 101 learning here. All right, I have a whole new respect for you ladies now. Copper. It's the copper.
It's the copper. They smell like pennies. Watch out.
Oh, yeah. Give me a walkthrough if I'm coming in and I want to pursue, your services. What are the steps that you would take to see that this is for me, or?
Absolutely. So, education. So I normally spend a tremendous amount of time on the phone with a person before they come in to make sure it's a treatment that would help them, in my experience. And that's the major component. So I do a lot of emailing, sharing, and then ultimately it's the client's decision as to whether they want to pursue that treatment.
Okay.
And then we sort of take each day at a time. I'm a huge proponent of people starting to listen to their bodies, because we've gotten away from that as a society. We push through things. We don't listen to our body. We don't rest when we should. And so that's sort of the first step, is people have to start listening to their body. And each person reacts to the treatment differently. So once we figure out how somebody reacts to it, then we start looking at how we're going to approach their schedule of treatments.
Gotcha. That's interesting. I'm going also, well, I mean, what's your take when it comes to, I'm deviating a little bit, marijuana?
When is it going to be legal?
Are you ready for it to be?
It absolutely needs to be.
Yeah.
The amount of people that I see that are traveling to Colorado,
Yeah.
Florida, even as far as Oregon for treatment is ridiculous. We have a state that is perfectly able to grow, and it needs to be legal. So right now, since it's not legal, I sell so much CBD.
That's okay, and that's what I was getting into next. How do you go, or elaborate?
Yes. So I've been selling CBD for, I guess, 2.5 years. So sort of before this last year, where it's gotten really, really popular, and it's sort of flooded the market, and I'm seeing it sold in, convenience stores and everything else. It's nothing short of amazing. Our cannabinoid system can become out of whack for many, many different reasons, and the CBD just strives to get that balanced. And so it's never going to cause any problems, but it's only has an upside. And the thing that I've found is that dosing is completely individual, person by person. And so I get really, really touchy when people are like, no, just take a dropper full. And I'm like, no, we don't do that. And so I work a lot with the people that buy CBD from me to help them figure out what the right dose is to treat whatever their ailment is. And it can be anxiety, depression, sleep, pain. I just got a product in that's 2,400 milligrams for 1 fluid ounce, which is a huge dose. And I have ex-NFL guys that are in a lot of pain, and their joints are sore, and it takes care of it.
It's pathetically sad that we're still having this, we're 2018, and we're still having this debate on, this all being legal.
Right? It's still reefer madness. I mean, really, all these years later, and everybody's mindset in the conservative world is back to reefer madness.
Get me started. Yeah, that's a whole political thing. But
well, no. But I mean, you can have people behind the wheel that have had 3 drinks, or have had a medicinal, natural plant. I don't know. I prefer the plant.
Yeah, there you go. Let me get back to the anxiety thing. To go back to the post you did, and this is one I wanted to elaborate more. It was things people with anxiety want their significant others to know. Can you talk to us about that? Because help, again, enlighten us when it comes to anxiety, and I guess in this case maybe some depression too.
Well, and I'm going to even expand that a little bit more. I call them unseen illnesses. So you look perfectly normal on the outside, but you feel like crap on the inside, and whatever the root of that is. But with anxiety, your brain literally is hijacked. It's not something that you can breathe through or that is going to be easily remedied. Right. It's something that is not logical. And so the patience that's required by those significant others is so integral to any healing process revolving around that. And as I said, unseen illnesses, concussions are another one. Rheumatoid arthritis is another one. You can look perfectly fine, and you're having a flare, and that particular joint that it's hit
It's brutal.
It's brutal.
Nah,
I mean,
I can experience, yeah.
and they, and the not believing, I think, is the hardest thing for a person suffering. When people don't believe them that they're not okay, because there are some things you just can't power through.
Right. Getting back to the Oxybaric, the services, besides the chamber, I'm seeing there's this, it's PEMF. What's that? Tell me about
Okay, that's a little more woo-woo. So this isn't for everybody. So it's pulsed electromagnetic field therapy, and you lay on a mat, and it pulses a field around your body while you're laying there. And there's 30 different settings, so there's 30 different hertz, okay, that you can choose from depending on whatever your ailment is, and it works its magic. So it actually reprograms your cells to work more efficiently.
So magnetic.
Yes.
Is it, what am I feeling? What's the...
Some people feel it very, like can feel the pulsing and can feel like almost a zazzy feeling. And then there are other people that feel absolutely nothing. And that's where the woo-woo comes in, because they were like, this isn't doing anything. And it's gently changing your body. And then there are some folks that will get on the table, and there's one setting that resets the parasympathetic nervous system, and they get knocked out. So they're about 15 minutes in, and they are conked out for the rest of the session.
So I'm looking at that, like that session is, I guess, 30 minutes at a time.
Correct.
What's for that? What is it? What's the usual amount of sessions that you would need to? I'm
really,
guessing it depends on the...
It depends on the ailment, but it's actually FDA approved for bone healing. So if somebody has a broken bone, it will actually heal it. So that would be 10 to 20 sessions, depending on how bad the break is.
Gotcha.
But really, as few as one session can help you.
Oh, wow.
So
Okay. We talked about the hyperbaric oxygen therapy.
yes.
Let's see, and then the sauna. The infrared sauna.
Yes, the infrared sauna, very, very, very important part of healing. So infrared saunas work differently than the sauna that you would find at your gym. They actually have infrared rays that come out of the walls. And those infrared rays can do a myriad of different things. So they can, one, induce sweat, which is what we're used to, but it can also help the waves from those red waves actually detoxify the cells. So if you have cellular debris or heavy metals, it actually, your body starts dumping them after you've been in the chamber.
Copper.
A little bit of copper, but zinc is the one that binds copper off.
Okay, all right. So this is, I'm looking at 100 to 150 degrees for the infrared versus the traditional is
like
about
220. Yeah.
So okay.
And so it feels like you're sitting in the sun. It doesn't feel like that overbearing, you can't breathe when you walk, in the other saunas. So it's really nice. People actually enjoy it.
Gotcha. This Ionic Foot Cleanse, foot soak removes impurities and toxins from the body.
Correct. So a
So
diet.
it doesn't involve like fish.
No fish nibbling at your
Nibbling,
feet. No.
okay.
But it's still a little woo-woo. So there's a diode in the water that ionizes the water. And those ions actually draw toxins out of your body through your feet. And I can actually receive clues from that water as to what you have going on.
Okay, that's a good point. So that water do you test? I mean, when you say you receive, how do you do?
So you'll actually see things in the water.
You actually see it.
So I had a woman that was doing a heavy detox, and there were actually parasites that came out in the water. And then there are other people that I've seen.
Parasites. Wait a minute.
Yes.
Another visual here.
They were long, thin strands that looked like hair, but those are actually pinworms, which are something that are very, very normal And
Is it really?
it really
Really?
is. We all are carrying parasites, and it's just a matter of if our body's healthy enough to be able to compensate for whatever the parasites are doing. And then there are some people that really need to do a parasite cleanse. And parasites wake up at the full moon. So if
And
people are getting
tonight
really-
like a full moon too.
Yes,
I was like,
correct.
all right, So,
Yes.
so in the middle of the night tonight, when I feel something, running through my body, that's probably
They're multiplying.
Yeah, they're multiplying. Great. All right, I'm gonna toss and turn all night. So, all right, good stuff here. What's I guess in closing, what's the message you would, final message you would share?
You're in charge of your own health. Take control.
Yeah.
Listen to yourself. It's super important. I mean, we all have a innate ability to heal, and
this is a natural way.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely, no negatives on that regard.
Side effects. Is there? I guess that's one question. This kind of treatment, what kind of side effects would potentially?
Oh,
have
it's
to do?
bad.
Is it?
You get the best night's sleep you've ever had. And that pretty much is across the board. I've only had 2 people that got really, really super energized from it and couldn't sleep, but everybody else sleeps literally like a
Really?
log.
Yeah.
So other than that, no.
All right. Good stuff. Lynn, where can everyone find you on social media?
I'm on Facebook, Oxybaric LLC, and then I am on Instagram, Oxybaric Lou. And so find us on there.
Website too?
Yes, oxybaric.com. Thank
Okay,
you.
Very good. Lynn Greene came on and killed it. Thanks for hanging out with me tonight.
Thank you so much,
All
Kevin,
right,
for
good-
having me.
Good stuff. Thanks.
Let's get busy.
All right, guys, Kevin Hale here at Baxter's 942 in the Highlands, Tuesday night, September 25th, 2018. It is Shooting from the Lip, episode 353. Continuing tonight with my new friend, my new buddy, Emily Hagedorn. Hagedorn?
Hagedorn, yes.
Who is with Yelp Louisville. What's up?
Not much. Too much stuff, and yeah, keeping up with it all. But
You digging the rain?
oh my gosh, I'm so ready for it to be over. I'm happy it's fall, so I'm
Me
happy
too.
it's getting to that. If this is what we have to
Yes.
go through to get to fall, then so be it. But yeah, so ready for no more rain.
You know, the rain has annoyed a lot of people in town
Yeah.
because of the music events that.
I feel bad for everybody who had tickets.
Yeah, Sunday's event was it Bourbon? Was it?
Beyond?
Yeah, Bourbon Beyond was canceled, and this coming, Louder Than
Life,
Life.
yeah.
It was totally canceled. So, and I still don't. I guess the argument is too when it comes to the location that they're doing this. I guess I don't know why is it there.
Well, but then also if it was at Waterfront Park, I mean that could get flooded.
Yeah.
So
But I've heard people throw out what's going on at the fairgrounds.
Right,
You
yeah.
know, and so I would think you probably should consider concrete.
well, and then next year they're adding a country festival.
Right.
So it's 3 weekends in a row.
Three.
So hopefully next weekend doesn't rain.
And then, well, help me understand this because you're kind of in that scene. How are they able to pull off music events 3 straight weekends? Because I guess it's genre, obviously.
Right. Not the same people.
Yeah, and it's different people. So I guess, but for people who are just fans of music, it's 3 straight weekends of that. That's
Right.
That's some
Exhausting. A little
exhausting.
I
And
feel like after a forecast every year, I'm like, this was great.
Yes,
but I'm
that
done,
too,
and
right.
I can relax now. I don't know. I wonder. I was thinking about that too. If they have different staffs for each, because I feel like the staff after a weekend, another a couple weeks worth. But I guess they get stages and stuff cheaper because they don't have to move them.
Probably that's a good point because it's all set up.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess from that perspective, that makes sense. Okay, all right. Again, you're by title, Senior Community Marketing Director with Yelp. Yelp Louisville. Take me back before Yelp Louisville. Yelp started when, and define Yelp.
Yeah, so it started in 2004 in San Francisco. So it's grown a lot since then. Now Yelp is in 30-something countries, 32 countries, I think it is.
Countries, really?
Yeah.
Really?
So yeah, not just the United States. And so it's all about connecting people with great local businesses. So it started with the website, and then now we have the app. And as with most online things, now more users and stuff are coming from the app than they are the website, which is good, which is great because people are taking it on the go with them. And so you can use Yelp. The good thing, a lot of people think of Yelp as just restaurants, and that was kind of what maybe put it on people's radars. But
which is what I had thought for the longest time until I looked at further. But
but any business can be on there, and especially over the last year or so, especially a lot of service type businesses, which actually, speaking of the rain and damage to houses, mine included, you can do request a quote. So what I'm going to be doing very shortly is sending out a quote to a bunch of roofers to see if they can come in and fix my house.
And you can do this on Yelp.
On the app, and it's free. I've done it a few times. I think bad stuff just keeps happening to my house, so I have to keep using it. But the one time,
so you can swear by Yelp.
Yes. Oh,
you're living proof.
Last year, a tree fell in my backyard on power lines and pulled all the power lines off my house.
Good Lord.
And so we had to get an electrician in like ASAP. And so I used request a quote, and then within about 15 minutes, I had an electrician like booked and ready to come. Reach out
Just
to 5 people at once.
If you worked for the lottery, maybe you would start winning money or something.
Or the opposite, bad luck. I don't know. But yeah, so that's been kind of the thing that we've been, that I've been kind of trying to help more people think about. It is more than just restaurants. So like and also using myself as an example. So I'm pregnant. I'm due to have a baby in February.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So
everything good?
Yeah. And using it to kind of find, doctors and some of those other resources I've never had to tap into before. So it keeps impressing me.
Do you know give me all right, I'm gonna call you out here. What are some of those resources that you just didn't realize, but now you do? Well,
my doctor, first of all, that helped a lot. I've been going to this place called I'm gonna have to look it up, Modern Mama. They for prenatal yoga, and so that's been super helpful. You can make a collection on Yelp around a theme or whatever, and so I have a collection of all like baby themed things. I also have a collection of businesses I can't wait to go to when I can actually drink again. So I feel like so many cool businesses, is like the champagnery and all these places have opened up, and I'm like, why now? But there's a place, I think it's in St. Matthews, that does like 3D imaging of your baby. I didn't know that existed until now. So so I feel like I'm learning stuff every day.
How do businesses work with you guys? How's that all happen?
So my job is on the community side. So I do pretty much event planning, working with businesses in terms of how to claim their page, all the free stuff they can do with Yelp. I don't do any advertising. And so, I can kind of come in and just help with making sure you have an understanding of Yelp, making sure you understand the free tools, that you've been able to put information up on your page. You can add your own pictures, how to respond to reviews, a lot of those basic things that businesses don't think about, but can be huge when it comes to getting people through the door. And then we have advertising representatives that will call businesses, and they have all this other fun stuff that they talk to people about. So.
All right, again, Emily Hagedorn here with the Yelp Louisville. Now, tell me, when businesses, what are the tools that they actually get to use? I mean, is it website? Is there an app involved? I mean,
there's an app just for business owners. So kind of similar to how users can make a profile on Yelp.com. Businesses can claim their page via biz.yelp.com, and there's an app just for them, and that lets them, anytime someone writes a review of the business, posts photos, you get a alert on your phone, so when it happens. You can create a check-in offer. So like when I came here to Baxter today, I checked in, and some businesses will have an offer that pops up.
Oh wow. Okay.
So, some of my favorites like Mayan Cafe, you can get a free side of their lima beans, which
See, you know what? Is this your first child?
yes.
So you're gonna get those notifications where kids eat free.
Yeah, I'll be like, yes, thank you. Yeah, I've been noticing more in reviews, but like restaurants and stuff where it's like easy family dining, and I'm like
There you go. You got
forgetting that one or remembering that one for
mental note there. Yeah.
for later. But yeah, so you can do a check-in offer, and that kind of one, helps a business though, because they have to show it to the business to get if it's a discount or
Right.
Against a Grain I think has like a free sticker that they get, so it doesn't have to be anything huge. Lets them know maybe who's using the site, and then the next time that person comes to the app or website, I'll say, oh, you were at Against a Grain, would you like to write a review? So it's a good way to kind of get some of that follow-up afterwards as well.
I'm looking at the Facebook page. There's an event section, and it's like there's a routine. I mean, you got events, so basically.
And those are only part of them, because we do a lot of events that are for our Yelp Elite Squad that are kind of private just to them too.
Okay, so yeah, I guess get into that. What type of? I see Mad's gallery. I just
tomorrow.
had tomorrow.
Yeah.
Madison was on not too long ago.
love
Here,
her.
she's great. And then Jason,
Yeah.
Here showing off his car thing, but
I need to talk to him about his cars.
yeah.
His look awesome.
Badass,
Yeah.
So, talk about what kind of events are these putting together?
So we do this month, for example, we've had about I think 7 or 8 events. This month was a busy month. So they're a mix of them. So a lot of our events are for our Yelp Elite Squad, who are the most kind of active and influential people on the site. And the whole idea is to do these events with local businesses, to put them in front of these people who like to talk about kind of where they adventure and their experiences that they have. And so, for example, we have one of those coming, and this isn't on our Facebook page because if you become Yelp Elite, it's a private calendar that you get to see all these events on. And to be Yelp Elite, you have to be over 21, can't be a business owner. Can't.
Okay.
Just avoid any conflicts of interest. A good citizen online. Constructive with your criticism, and you nominate yourself, or someone else can nominate you. It goes to San Francisco, and then they decide who becomes elite from there. And then once you're in, then you kind of have access to all these opportunities. So we have one of those coming up. Let me look on the date. I believe October 16th at Copper and Kings. Working on one with them, and so that one is kind of the theme is paint Butchertown orange. So people are going to wear orange. Hopefully won't be raining. Hopefully the leaves will be turning, and we're going to be up in Alexander, their new bar. They're going to have cocktails and tours and lots of other fun stuff. And I'm actually going to once or twice a year we do these special party like a Yelp Elite giveaways where people who aren't elite can enter to come to the event. And so we usually take, a handful of people from that. So if you go to yelp.com/events, you'll see where you can enter to that. So if it sounds good, you can learn more there. And then we have other events anybody can come to. The most that we've been doing lately are under, we're calling Yelp's Exploration Society. And these events are all about connecting with local makers, local doers, kind of seeing how stuff is made, which is what Madison with Mad's Gallery are doing we're doing with her. And so she's teaching a resin making class. We just did actually one with Copper and Kings where for the reverse of Bourbon Month, kind of the punk version. So instead of bourbon, did everything with brandy instead. Okay. And then we also did one this month with Bourbon's Bistro where Jason, one of the owners, did a Bourbon 101, kind of helping people know. So now, if you don't know much about bourbon, you can kind of step away and make it, you can sound like you know a lot about bourbon. So the next one after the Mads Gallery one, we're doing one with the Filson Historical Society on the 10th, on October 10th, where it's all about kind of researching your ancestry, your family history.
Okay. That's interesting.
Yeah, they're having kind of I guess their newest exhibit is all about kind of family pieces, family heirlooms. So guests will be able to come in, use their research, look up their history. If they have an item from a family member, their Filson's staff are going to help them research more about it and stuff.
When I go to the website, yelp.com, home cleaners, restaurants, and then home services, but there's more than that though, right?
I mean, I guess any business can be on there.
Okay, so All right. Wow. Delivery too.
Oh yeah, and that's a whole other, which I was actually
let's
driving
talk
here,
about that.
driving here today, and I'm like, I'm hungry. Where am I going to get takeout or delivery from tonight? Yeah, so Yelp has Yelp delivery. Actually, trying to think of the right verb here. It's working with Grubhub. So you can go on Yelp, and it's the largest number of restaurants on any app. And you go right through the app, and so you can look up delivery. And yeah, order right from the app, similar to how you would order from Grubhub or Postmates or anything like that. And they carry out as well. And then Yelp reservations, kind of similar to that. You can go on and book a table. I feel like Yelp keeps coming out with like different tools and stuff to plug into all this. So yeah, so once it's kind of nice because if you're on Yelp looking for a restaurant, you might have the option right then to make a reservation without having to go to another app.
Wow. I guess what are you all not doing? That might have been the easier question to ask. But one thing you're not doing, it's not because I actually had, when I was talking to someone the other day, because I mentioned it and they weren't familiar with it, and they was like, it's not a dating app. But well, let me ask though. But there's nothing in here that is meant to gather people. Right.
Well, I mean, we have our like Yelp Elite Squad gathers people, and actually we have some people on our squad who met from Yelp events.
But that's not
the purpose.
Yeah.
That's not the purpose. But they actually got
romance.
They got married two weekends ago. So I guess we can kind of claim dating side a little bit. But yeah, I mean, so my job is to kind of build that community. And what I like about the job is it's online and offline, kind of bringing those faces that if you use the app and stuff, you see a lot, bringing them together offline. And since then, we've been able to grow a pretty big community here in Louisville.
What's the misnomer about this app?
The misnomer? What do you mean? Misunderstanding? I feel like, one thing I get a lot, or thankfully not as much as I used to, but sometimes, there's a misconception that businesses can pay to take their reviews down if they don't like a review, which there's never been any amount of money that businesses can pay to do that. It's if you buy advertising, you're just buying advertising. And so that one is, thankfully, people are realizing that more and more, and that's not how Yelp works. And then I think the fact that Yelp is just for restaurants, people are realizing it's for much more than that.
When you actually sign up to do this, and I haven't done this yet, I should have done it, but is there like questionnaires and stuff you have to fill out that you?
It's a pretty easy process just to get a profile. I think it takes less than 30 seconds, and it's free.
It's free. Okay. I'm just looking at the site. I mean, again, you all have a lot of things covered here.
Can I put you on a billboard saying that?
I would. Yeah, definitely. What's tell me as far as people, I mean, I know your role, but what other work is involved to actually pull this off?
I mean, we have, and I've been to Yelp HQ. I go about every year. They fly all
you said San Francisco,
all the community managers out, and that's always fun. One, to meet different community managers from other cities, but then also just to kind of see headquarters and, learn a little bit about the engineering side and the sales side. It feels neat to kind of be in that world. The HQ itself is just fun because it's very what you think of as kind of a Silicon Valley startup. Last time I was there's like Nintendo games. If you want to just like decompress and play Nintendo games, you could do that there. I mean, it's a huge process. I mean, just data wise to have this, and then for so many countries. And you're taking something that, when you're talking about reviews, I mean, they're subjective. But I appreciate the fact that Yelp has tried to, make it an even fair playing ground for businesses, considering that you are dealing with something that is so subjective.
That's good. I like that. I'm looking also by the categories. One thing you do have is the best 10 nightlife in Louisville.
I haven't looked at that in a while. I'm wondering
I'm curious. How did the top 10 or the 10 get established?
Usually, it takes into account, it'll look at obviously overall
reviews,
rating, number of reviews, when the reviews are written. So and it's neat. Sometimes I'll get
which is actually there's more than 10, but it goes way
but sometimes I'll work with HQ to get data list pulled. I pulled, it was I think a month ago, the top 20 most photographed places in Louisville that Business First and WLKY wrote about. And some were on the list that were you would kind of understand. I'm trying to think what the number one was, but others were a little bit of a surprise. And it included a list of not just restaurants, but like Churchill Downs was on there, 21C. It was kind of neat to see what people are taking pictures of.
That's interesting.
Even today, I was looking at. There were a few, and this is, I guess, kind of sad, not happy, but reviews for drug rehab centers, which people, with everything that's going on.
It's a necessity. I mean, that's the real world, though.
But then to read the reviews of people who actually went to them and saying how much they helped and stuff, and so it was kind of neat, something I hadn't thought about seeing on Yelp before.
Here are people listening. One of the things that best in automotive places. And these are, auto repair, service.
I think
they're on there.
Gates Automotive. I think it was they were up there. That's where I take my car.
Gates was 3. Yeah. So stuff like that. Where people, use the type of service where some trust and stuff is involved.
Oh yeah. I mean, when you're talking about like a contractor coming to your house, you don't want I want to be careful about who I let into my house and who I trust with that, and so I think it's helpful to be able to go back and read.
I have to do this just for my sheer curiosity. The top 10 massage places.
Oh yeah.
So there is obviously there's a trick to it. There's a skill to it. So according to this, Apex Massage is the
I've heard of them.
Yeah,
they have good.
Crescent Hill. But yeah, this is.
I mean, you can even look up. You could go down a rabbit hole looking up, places on Yelp, top strip clubs. Like, there's any business can be on Yelp. So.
Really?
Yeah. So you can go down a rabbit hole sometimes of what you can find.
I'm gonna put you on the spot. What's the weirdest thing that you think's on there?
Well, I know the Door to Nowhere on Frankfurt Avenue. So if you write it Frankfurt Avenue at River Road, it's a facade of a building and that's it, and it's called the Door to Nowhere, and so people review that. Same with the
what is that place?
It's like a piece of like an old building that was on Frankfurt Avenue forever. I'll look it up and I'll show it to you.
What is the? I mean, is it people actually go into this door?
They stand by it. It's a landmark.
It's just a landmark.
So they write about that.
The Door to Nowhere.
The statue of.
Is that kind of like the Highway to Hell?
Yeah. Here.
Door to Nowhere. Let's see.
So.
Okay, landmark historical building.
It has 20 reviews. The statue in front of 21C has its own review page. The big tall gold statue.
I mean, I can see that. Okay, I'm with you now. I can see. Yeah. All right.
Today I saw, and I had never heard of this before, but the Brown Foreman Silo. So it's in a park, but you can go to the top of it and like see part of the city, and so. I had never heard of that one before, and that was read a review today of that one. So even after reading reviews for 5 years, I keep coming across new things.
Well, I'm going to I clicked the sign up. So obviously, signing up is the first step to being a part of the Yelp Louisville. But you can sign up with Facebook and Google, which is obviously going to make things a little quicker.
Trying to think other stuff. Yeah. So another fun thing that Yelp is doing, and it started, I think it was a couple years ago. It's called Yelp Cashback, and you register your credit cards on there. And so if you go to a restaurant that's part of Yelp Cashback, you get, I think it's 4 to 7 or 4 to 8% back. Like El Mundo is a part of it, and so if you and really all it is if you use that credit card that you signed up with on Yelp Cashback, when you check out, you don't even have to check in on the app or anything like that. You automatically get that percentage back on your card.
Well, I just created a Yelp page
Yay.
using my Facebook, and
I'm gonna have to. I'll find you, and we can be Yelp friends.
it does have me as mail. I mean, yeah, it's taking everything. So yeah, but there is in here questions, or you give a headline, what you love, find me in, hometown, website, just to kind of give a little history bio about you. Oh, it's neat. I will mess with this.
Yay.
Give us a closing statement on this.
Well, definitely hope people come out to our events. So keep an eye on our Yelp Louisville Facebook page. You could also follow Yelp Louisville on Facebook and Twitter. It's at Yelp Louisville. And for all of our events and stuff that we do, we'll be announcing some more events really shortly on the page, including hopefully our biggest event of the year, which is called Yelp's Art in Action. This will be our 5th year for it. It's all about celebrating the creativity of Louisville and beyond. So we're kind of nailing down the last details of the where.
There's a lot of good stuff in this town.
Oh, it's
There really
it's
is. Obviously, the food is the food part of Louisville is one thing. It's a good thing.
It's a fun town to get to really explore the different businesses, and people here are so buy local focused, which I think makes my job that much more fun, because people are looking for those opportunities to have those one of a kind experiences with local businesses. So, yeah, I guess at the end I would just say, make a profile. Once you start using it, you kind of realize everything that you can do with it, and then keep an eye on our social media for other opportunities and stuff going forward.
Very cool. Very cool. All right, guys. Emily Hagedorn, Yelp Louisville. Emily, thanks for hanging out with me.
Yeah, this was fun. Thank you so much.
All right.
Let's get busy.
All right, guys. Kevin Hale here at Baxter's 942 in the Highlands, Louisville, Kentucky. Episode 353, SFTL 353, on this Tuesday night, September 25th, 2018. It's segment 3 of the night. Bringing on buddy Jesse Vest. Jesse is with the Louisville Crashers, the Louisville Crashers, and he does a CrasherCast podcast. Yes, my ego is in check enough to have a fellow podcaster on the show. Jesse, thanks for hanging out with me.
Oh, thank you for having me, man.
What's been up, man?
Not much. I just sit around envying you. You know what I mean? You've got this whole setup here, and
I'm one of the boys. That's all.
I say that jokingly, but also I was gonna tell you that I really do envy you in a sense, because the podcast that I do, there's no cursing.
None?
There's no politics. There's no religion.
No, wait a minute. Cursing, but when you say no cursing, is it because you saying there's no cursing? You make that rule.
Here's the thing, because and I do that because the podcast is called CrasherCast, and it's because basically we've spent a decade building the Louisville Crashers up to be a very family-friendly brand.
All right.
And I got to take that into consideration. So
I will use the word friggin' tonight, this segment.
No, you
Gosh
can,
darn.
Listen, we're pulling out all the stops here because we're not on my podcast.
Yeah, you be. Let's. Yeah.
I'm swinging for the fences. I'm pulling out every word I've ever heard.
Home field advantage for me tonight. All right. All right, but again, Louisville Crashers, CrasherCast. We're going to talk history, because you've been in the music scene for.
Well, let's see. What day is it?
September 20th.
Yeah, I've been in the music business. Basically, I've been being. Let's do it this way. How long have I been being paid to play music? That's about 26 years.
Okay.
Now.
Oh wow.
Something like that.
You haven't hit the 5-0 yet, have you?
No.
Yeah.
Have you?
I have. I am 5'1".
Now, see, I thought you were younger than me,
Uh-huh.
and I'm not just saying that.
I
to be on
appreciate
the good side.
All right. So it's going good so far.
Yeah. No, I'm 41.
Nope. Oh shit. Mm,
So about 15, I started getting paid to play music,
that's awesome.
and it's been a crazy ride for me.
Well-
You know, a lot of I got started early.
Yeah.
Pretty much right out of high school, I was on the road, traveling the world, playing music. and-
Literally traveling the world.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I was. I don't know how familiar you or any of your listeners are with sort of my past, but I was the founding bass player of a band called Days of the New back in the
Todd Whitener,
mid to late 90s.
Travis Meeks.
Yes.
Todd, I have history. Todd digressed a little bit. My oldest did the rock school thing.
Oh, yeah.
And he was her teacher for one of the sessions. Great fucking guy. So
Todd is one of my favorite people.
badass. Yes.
Because the other three guys, there was 4 guys in Days of the New. It was me, Todd, Travis, and Matt. Todd's the only one that you could even remotely call normal. Like, he's just like the
Well, wait,
sweetest guy.
define normal though.
Well,
Is that okay?
I'm just talking about, you wouldn't mind taking him to meet your parents or something. You know what I mean? He's like, he's not going to embarrass you. You can't say that about the rest of us.
Got you.
But Todd is a super, super great guy. And we did that when we were very young. And that went on for a few years.
That was what, late 80s or 90s?
Yeah. It was the first album actually was released in 97.
97. And you all really crashed on this. That sound, I mean, it was really
It was a big deal.
fresh. I mean, oh man, it was amazing.
It was a big deal, and I don't really listen to it anymore, but every once in a while,
I have to admit, the other day, it's probably, I'd say within the last month, I'm always on freaking YouTube watching music, and somehow one of the suggestions came up. It was Days of the New on Letterman.
oh yeah, I remember it well.
Yeah, and I was like,
I had a lot more hair back then.
you did. We're going to get into when the hair transitions. So.
I also had when we recorded that, I had a temperature of 104 during the filming of that, and it was really crazy because we had got there. We played a song that was about 4.5 minutes long.
This is the Letterman thing.
Yeah, I'm talking about Letterman. That
Right.
show
Right.
specifically. The song we were playing was about 4.5 minutes long, and we played it during the rehearsal. And the guy, the director, whatever it was on site there that was dealing with us, he said, "All right, guys, sounds great." And then right before we went live to tape, they were getting ready to go, and they came to us during the commercial break, and they said, "Okay, boys, we know we told you that it was fine, but we need you to cut 1 minute off of this." Because some other segment had run over, and they needed us to cut a minute off the song. So we're sitting there at the very last second. How do we cut a minute off of this song? And which minute do we cut?
Yeah.
With no rehearsal, no prep time.
Slick Rick Hayes is in the house. Look at it.
That's my boy.
There, not just he shows up sporting the shirt. This is one of my big time supporters. I'll get you a shirt too. Buddy.
He's the biggest star in the room.
Yeah. What's up, my brother? What's up? So you had Days
are
of
you,
the
man?
New killing it. So you got to chop off a minute off of the song.
Yeah. I mean, and that's not, again, that's not the problem. The problem was that we had to do it immediately.
Right.
Before we played it live for millions of people.
Right.
Without making a mistake. And so it was very trying. And I had 104-degree temperature.
Sick.
I was really, really not in good health. And the other guys were probably not sober. So we were it was screwed all the way around.
So rock and roll.
Yeah.
So I have to go back and I guess I never really listened to see if there was, the edit part of that, but I have to go back and listen to it.
Oh, you won't notice it. It came off.
Really?
It came off
Because
pretty good.
I was going to say, it didn't stand out to me. So.
Yeah. We every once in a while, a squirrel finds a nut. You know what I mean? We got lucky.
You were on the first album.
Yes.
Then what was the history there? You were.
Yeah.
It was just the three of you all
we bolted.
Yeah. What happened there? Give us a without, I'm not asking you to bash him, but just give us the days of the new SFTL behind the story.
It was a. There's no way to do the short version, and there's no way to do it without bashing anybody, probably including myself. As I get older, I realize that everybody's at fault.
Yeah.
But Travis especially, and he would admit to this, he's a very difficult guy to live with, to be around, to work with.
I've heard the rumors.
He's just a very peculiar kind of a person, and not very nice a lot of times, and unreliable.
Right.
We would find ourselves in positions where he just wouldn't show up, and Todd would have to sing the songs. And Todd's a good singer.
Todd is, yeah.
He's a good
he
singer.
Can pull it off, yeah.
But he doesn't sing like Travis sings. So you would have some disappointed crowds. And one time I remember we went on Howard Stern one time, and we couldn't get Travis out of bed. So the three of us are sitting there talking to Stern.
Wait, Stern? How do you not?
Well, and this is late '90s Stern. So this is top of the world.
Oh, God.
Private part Stern.
This was this was before. Was it before Sirius?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, this was all terrestrial radio at that point.
Right.
This was really before even internet hit anything. It was big deal, man. And Stern, basically the three of us sat and listened to Howard Stern make fun of our singer for 45 minutes.
I wonder if that's
Because
on YouTube anywhere.
I don't know. I've not seen it, and I'm not sure that I would want to. It was a very awkward situation.
I'm sure. I mean, because it's, I'm sure Howard probably wasn't too thrilled about that. Huh?
Oh yeah. Well, nobody blows off Howard Stern.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. I mean, if and because we went there, and we had to tell him. He was like, "Well, I thought there was 4 of you." He was like, "Well, we couldn't get our singer out of bed," and then it was on. And Howard did not like
relentless.
He didn't necessarily take it out on us,
right?
But we basically had to sit there.
And it put you on a bad light.
It was a bit of a he went on sort of a bit of a tirade.
Yeah. I'm guessing that was the one and only time on the Stern show.
Mm-hmm.
So you go. We're going back down memory lane. So Days of the New, exit that Tantric. Right?
Tantric
is next up.
Yeah,
and that was the 3 of you all.
The 3 of us with a different singer.
Hugo. Yeah. So tell us about Tantric.
Well, we decided to leave Days, and we knew we wanted to do something else with just the 3 of us, and we were looking for a front man, and Hugo was in a band. I can't even remember the name of the band, but basically he was in a band that opened for us when we were touring, like a local act.
Right.
And we remembered him and stayed in contact a little bit. And so when we were doing auditions, we gave him a ring, and he came down. And Hugo is not. I don't want to throw him under the bus here, but he's maybe not the greatest singer in the world, but he was a really good front man. And
Very
that's kind of like what
yeah.
we were looking for at the time, because we had been with Travis, who was a great singer, but not a good front man. Like we would have trouble getting him to even face the crowd, or he would make Todd stand in the center of the stage while he stood on stage right,
Really? Oh.
because he was just so
Uncomfortable or not shy, was it?
yeah.
Really?
It's a mix of things.
Really?
The thing that I always say about Travis, I said this, but I've told him this, and I don't think he's argued with me. But he's got 3 things against him. Number 1 is he has legitimate mental health issues. Number 2 is he's got substance abuse issues. And number 3, he's just kind of a dick. Like, he really is just like an asshole,
Number 3.
So the 3 of those combined, who knows what the impetus was for him to try to, he, for some reason, he just did not want to interact with the crowd.
Right.
Now, once he started singing, he was amazing.
Right.
He's
good. Badass, man.
but one of the most talented people I've ever worked with. Definitely the most talented songwriter, and one of the most talented performers I've ever worked with. But you just couldn't get him to put on a show. And so when we put Tantric together, that's what we were looking for, somebody that could put on a show. And I think I mean, obviously, but I did the first 2 Tantric albums before I left the project, and
To spend more time with your family is what your Wikipedia page. Because first for starters, anybody with a Wikipedia page,
yeah, I
Legit.
didn't do that Wikipedia page,
don't matter. It's still
And
you have a Wikipedia page.
and that's probably one way to word it.
Yeah.
Is that I left to spend more time with my family. It's probably the most politically correct way to word it.
Yeah. And, you know, politics is optional on this show too.
Yeah. Listen, I am a nut when it comes to that stuff, and I listen. You always do the what do you call it? The current news or
Trending news.
Trending
Yeah.
news. You do that segment, and I listen to it every time.
What is your affiliation? You lean left or right?
I am
Are you? Do you have an MAGA hat?
no.
Okay.
I am the best way probably to describe it is I'm a libertarian.
There you go. Yeah.
Libertarian,
Okay.
but in the truer sense, not just in the like social libertarian, but all around.
Yeah.
Taxation is theft, that whole thing.
Gotcha.
So again, and that's something I don't talk about on my show or on social
You have a
media.
standing invite to come and hang with us during that segment. So
Well, you
Standing
don't
invite.
threaten me with a good time because that's sort of my shtick. I end up I talk to my wife about it, and sometimes my wife's a really smart lady, and sometimes she gets into it, and other times she just gets bored with it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. But unfortunately, or fortunately for my case on the podcast, there's always something to talk about with this administration, but you know, we're digressing a little bit. All right. So after the second album, Tantric second album, you exit.
I exit, and I exit fully, in the sense that I basically didn't even pick up a bass for probably 2 years.
Wow.
Didn't even think about
Was
music.
it burnout? Or what was the?
It was.
Did you? Is this where you insert your rehab or no VH1?
No, nothing like that.
All right.
I mean, not that I haven't made some bad mistakes in my life, but I've never really developed any kind of serious drug problem, thankfully.
Good.
But it was basically, my life was very chaotic for about several years after I left Tantric. No reason to go into details, but music just was not a top priority for me.
Right.
And I may have never played again unless the only reason I really started playing again is that I took a job when I left Tantric. I wanted to stay local. I was done with touring. I didn't want to leave anymore, and so I took a job at Mom's Music, which is
Over
owned by
in Indiana.
yeah,
Yeah.
initially at the Indiana store,
right.
and
The Maxwell.
yeah, and Mark Maxwell owns that. He owns that store, and he gave me a job over there, and he needed a bass player at his church. So he talked me into going, and I started filling in at church, and really the Crashers sort of was born out of that, in a sense, because his brother Max played drums, and I played bass, and Mark sang.
So half of the Crashers basically started from church.
Yeah. I mean, it was and not that. Yeah, we don't have to talk about religion at all, for sure. But let's just say I'm not like the most religious person. But at that point in my life, it was good for me to be around positive people in a positive atmosphere.
And that is what.
And it was a sort of a small community, and it was something that I knew how to do.
Right.
And it was good for me. So, long story short, that got me back on the horse, and eventually, we kind of threw it together and put the Crashers together, and made it official.
So how did the Crashers all come about? Obviously, we just mentioned half of them, half the Crashers. There's 6 guys in the band,
There's 6 guys in the band.
and it's collectively 6 guys. And you elaborated that as the Louisville Crashers is an LLC, and all 6
It is.
are on the dotted line, have
Yes.
a piece of the pie, which is a good thing.
Everything is split 6 ways.
So give us the Crashers. How did that all form? And I'm
Well-
seeing it formed in 2004. Is that right?
No,
No, it's not. Sorry.
Is that on my Wikipedia?
That's on your Wikipedia. It was formed in 2004, but it's not.
Don't believe everything you read about me on the internet, people. So, like I said, the reason I started playing again was the church gig, but also working at Mom's Music. Every Christmas, they throw a Christmas party, usually at Phoenix Hill or someplace like that. Yeah, it was a good place. So, and when we would do the Christmas party, we'd throw together a band full of guys who worked at Mom's. So that was me, it was Mark, it was Max, it was Howard, and Shane, and Howard's brother Jeff, Jeff didn't work at the store when we were doing those performances, but he has worked at the store before. So really, the band wouldn't exist without Mom's Music, because everybody who was there either still works there or has worked there at some point. And we decided we'd throw it together because we were having so much fun. Like there's no way to say this without sounding kind of smug, but it's the best band I've ever been in. Like, it's the best musicians. I could almost say it's the best musicians in town, but I know there might be some exceptions here or there because there's some really great musicians in this town.
And that's just it. In town,
there's a lot of talent here.
A lot of
but I think that a lot of guys, with some exceptions, would agree with that statement. The guys I've got in my band, like, I'm the worst musician in the band, and I'm really freaking good. You know, I mean, I've been doing it a long time.
Well, I've not heard. I've heard of you, how good you are, and I've seen you, and you are good. Actually, to your point, there's 6 fucking strong cats in there.
Yeah, and we were having so much fun, and it was such a great product. So we decided to start rehearsing and thought, okay, well, let's do some weddings. So we started doing weddings, and that led to word got around and people started hiring us for other events, and it's just kind of snowballed, and now it's almost more than we can handle, to be honest. We say no a lot more than we say yes because there's only so many dates in the year.
How often are y'all playing? You're not y'all playing every week?
We played in 2017 we played 92 shows.
Oh wow.
So I mean, that's pretty busy when you consider that everybody in the band has another job outside of the band.
Right. Yeah. This is not the day or the only job. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not the only jobs that we have, and but it's a good one. I mean, and we've grown it to the point where we can make some decent money.
I've heard the numbers that are thrown out there, so I'm privy to that. But you're right.
Yeah, we don't have to talk about numbers.
No, but let me be factual. A band like the Crashers that can command what you all get, I mean, that kind of says who you guys are. I mean, it does. People
wouldn't pay it if they didn't think we were worth it.
Absolutely.
Because when we show up, typically, I mean, barring some bad weather or U of L UK's got a game the same night, or barring something crazy happening, when we show up, a lot of other people show up too, and so people make an investment in us under the impression that they think it's going to pay off. We never make any guarantees because we can't.
Right.
But for the most part, it's a safe bet for people.
The venues, I've heard the stories. The venues are ecstatic at the end of the night at a Crashers gig.
Typically. Yeah.
So
typically.
And then you guys do your fair share of participating with benefits and stuff.
Oh yeah. So, I mean, we do several. We do a lot of stuff like that, and even if even if we don't go in and play something for free, we will do our best to sort of work out situations, because we've gotten a bit too big for our britches in a sense, because it's not just we don't just have to pay us. We've got 4 guys on the road crew that come set up the gear and tear it down at the end of the night. We've got our house guy that mixes our sound every time, and that stuff costs money. It's worth the money. It's
How
pretty,
many?
it's pretty
outside of
awesome.
the 6, how many is part of the Crashers entourage there?
Hold on, what do you mean?
You got the 6 members.
Yes.
So you mentioned, I guess you got a sound guy, dedicated sound guy, and then you have the.
Okay. Well, in our contract,
Not groupies. I wasn't going if I don't know if that's.
yeah, there are no groupies.
But you're still playing for chicks, though, right?
Well, there are women in the audience, if that's what you're saying. Yeah. No, in our contract, we typically, depending on the venue, obviously, but if it's like a wedding or a corporate event, we put in that we get fed, basically, and us and our crew, and it's usually we ask for 10 meals. So 6 guys in a band.
About 4. Okay. All right.
And it varies because it depends on how much gear we're packing. It depends on how many guys we can get. Because sometimes and Howard, I don't envy him because he has to schedule it all out and make sure we have enough guys to cover every event. And sometimes we were stuck with only 2.
No. Yeah.
And sometimes we got 6. And it sort of, it fluctuates a bit.
Howard is your press guy or whatever.
Howard is Howard Jitley is the glue. He's the glue that holds the whole thing together. He plays guitar, he plays trumpet, he plays some keyboards, and he handles.
That really is a talented band. Good God.
Man,
Really?
it's pretty incredible.
It's always been one of the. It's always a great show.
And what I do is the least. Like literally, I don't sing. All I do is play bass. Everybody else in the band sings. Like Jeff plays saxophone, keyboards, flute, drums sometimes. Howard and Jeff will play percussion. Like the other guys, me, Mark, Max, and Shane, we kind of have our hands full, so we're not much as far as like multi-instrumentalist goes. But the 2 Jitley brothers, those guys can just about play anything. It's amazing. And Howard's fearless. Like there'll be we'll have to learn some crazy song for a wedding, and it'll have mandolin in it or something, and
He'll go for it. Huh?
he'll go for it, and he'll pull it off.
That's
He never fails to impress me. Even if he fails, like to play it right, his balls are impressive because he just goes for it. It's crazy.
Awesome. Very cool. So you mentioned Crashers, 10 years in the making. Your 10-year anniversary this past August.
Yeah,
right?
in August we hit 10 years.
10 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
With the same lineup.
Same, and that's the other thing too. Same guys from day 1 is at day 10 year.
Yeah. Which is amazing because I've been in many bands in my life. Keeping a band together for 10 gigs is tough. And doing it for 10 years.
Well, let me be blunt. With as much talent as in that band, there's got to be some egos in that band too. And for you guys to just obviously, keep those egos in check.
It's not as bad as people think it is, especially because people look at Mark and they think, "Oh, that guy's got a big ego." You're like, well, yeah, kind of, but he compared to other bands that I've been in, being in the Crashers is like a walk in the park, like riding a unicorn through a park on a rainbow. It's just like the easiest thing ever, and the egos that we have to deal with every once in a while. And it doesn't happen as much anymore. Around the 3 or 4 year mark, we would get in some knockdown dragouts, and it got like, we never actually hit anybody, which this is actually the first band I've never hit anybody, which is saying something, 10 years, haven't hit anybody. It's pretty great.
Violence.
I'm not a violent person.
And you're not okay, but that's something.
I really am not.
You're not a violent person, but the fact that you had to go there.
Yeah, but the fact that it's I've been in, but the bands I was in before, you just can't compare the level of professionalism that you see in this band didn't exist then because we were stupid kids. Right. Even if you take the egos or the mental issues or the drugs out of it, we were stupid kids. And now in the Crashers, we're pretty much all grown-ups. I'm the youngest guy in the band, and I'm not young.
Yeah.
So
Gotcha. 10 years. Y'all do anything special for that 10-year anniversary, or have you?
We went and got pedicures together.
Did you? Oh.
No.
No. It's
No, we did not.
special massages.
No, Max tried to get us to do that, but it didn't work out.
No Asian spa night or something.
No, we you know what? We're not we're not the kind of band that spends a lot of time together when we're not working.
Okay, yeah, all right.
Like every once in a while, like we do a Christmas party every year, and we'll get together every once in a while if we're not working. But most of the time, you know, we have a standing Tuesday night rehearsal, which I actually moved to Thursday.
Did you? Oh,
Just so I
thank
could
you.
come in here.
I appreciate it.
I moved to Thursday this week, but we have a standing Tuesday night rehearsal, and then we usually almost always play at least Friday and Saturday. Last week we played Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So, you know, we see each other enough. So there's no pomp and circumstance. It's pretty low key.
No TMZ juicy stuff here tonight, guys.
No, we
No
are.
sound bites. Nothing.
Listen, that's the big reason that this band's still together is because we're
exactly.
boring.
Yeah.
We're old and boring. We're all
Boring old farts.
married with children and dogs and cats, and we've just got, you know, there's just no time for shenanigans.
Very good.
You know?
Gotcha. No, I feel you. Definitely feel you. Let's talk about the podcast, man. Who's that? Was this your idea?
It was my idea.
And this is your podcast, right?
Yeah.
No affiliation with the other guys.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I've had the other guys on it, but it was my idea. I do the show prep. I do the editing. I post it up. Everything that has happened with the podcast has been mine, and
I feel you.
and it's I'm sure you can relate. Like I said, though, I'm not nearly as prolific as you. I've been doing this for over a year, and I'm about to release my 11th episode. So it's much slower pace because I've got to squeeze it in between all the other things I got going on. And to be honest, it's a type of thing where it's so much work to walk that fine line, to walk the line between what I want to do and what I know I have to do to keep it clean to protect the band's brand.
That's the other thing too, right? Yeah.
So there, like we said earlier, like I could talk to you all night about politics. Not even necessarily politics, but just the philosophy
Non-music,
around it.
yeah.
You know what I mean? The philosophy around our political process. I could talk about all that stuff, but I don't do it. I don't curse on the podcast because, you know, now I did release one episode of the podcast where I did a double edit. I did a clean version and dirty version because I sat down with Alex Raimundo.
Oh, that was, I'm sure.
And I said, Alex, so just try not to curse. And he's like, okay. And then it was just an endless tirade of just nonstop, you know, sailors were blushing.
You know, some of my favorite podcasts to listen to. Joe Rogan is arguably one of my favorite ones. And he does. If you listen to any, you know, he'll have one guest on. He'll go 2 to 3 hours, and I'm engaged during the whole thing. And I thought about, there are times when I have, with the right guest, I could talk, and I'm thinking tonight would probably be a night. You know, obviously I've got other segments to go, but we could go talk probably for hours.
Yeah.
And then there's Stone Cold Steve Austin's. Now, you know, I'm a fan of his, but he does. Reason why I bring it up, he does two podcasts: a Tuesday night family version, then he does an unleashed version. You know, a different. He'll have the same guest sometimes do a clean version, and then the next segment is the unedited, unleashed version, and they just speak freely. So I've
never listened to his podcast.
Yeah,
before.
but it's entertaining. But
Yeah.
anyways, what's the end game with the podcast?
I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, here's the thing. I'm constantly trying to figure out how to make my life work. because it's a disaster pretty much all the time. Now, I mean, not that I don't have a good life. I'm very blessed in a lot of ways, but I'm juggling so many balls all the time, and I'm always dropping one. I'm always disappointing somebody. You know, sometimes it's my wife, sometimes it's a band, sometimes it's, you know, the people at my other job, sometimes it's myself. So I tried to do this thing about 6 months ago where I talked the band into letting me not handle social media anymore, because I was doing all the social media for the band. And I said, you know, let me do a monthly newsletter and a podcast and just let me handle that.
Oh, I think that's genius.
Well, it was genius, but the band didn't think so. No, I mean, they went for it, and we gave it a trial run. But the fact is, our social media is just, you know, it's too important to just, because what we did was we delegated it. We had an external
A non-band. Okay.
Yeah, we brought in somebody from the outside, which I'm usually against. I like to keep everything in house.
Has it worked out?
Well, it just didn't, and it was no fault of the person that we brought in.
They just wasn't as connected.
Yeah, not as connected and not as well versed in because I've handled our social media since day one, and it had a voice. It, you know, there was just a way that we presented ourselves,
And it was missing.
yeah, this person didn't know how to do that, and she definitely did some things better than I ever did, because she's younger and just more versed in how that works. But you know, the decision basically was made where I'm going back to social media. And so, to get back to your question about the podcast, I don't know what that means for the podcast. I haven't put one out in a while. I've got one actually in the bag. I've just got to do a couple final touches before I release it. But after I put that one out, I just don't know. It's so crazy to try to find time to do it, you know.
It's to me, it's my little purge. It's my way of purging shit that's in my head. You know, a lot of times, especially like that one of the last segment I do of the night with the trending news. But then, you know, where I will have whoever on. I mean, I'm totally open to the whole local scene.
You really are.
Yeah,
And I don't know. I don't know how much people realize that, because you're not a musician.
no, I'm not. I'm just a huge fan.
Yeah, and you can tell it shows, and you do a lot for the local music scene, and I don't know if you get enough credit for that. So I'm giving you credit
And
now.
I appreciate that. You know, a lot of people do associate my podcast as a music podcast, but it's really not. It's just one piece of it. But I do. I mean, I love music. I mean, there's nothing I'd rather do on a week or any night, really, just to go listen to live music. So.
Yeah. It served me well.
It has.
I'm a music fan.
Badass musician, talented podcaster.
Well, the jury's out on that one. I think I can rest. I think I can safely say I'm a pretty good bass player, but the podcasting thing, you know, it's hard.
It is. It's not easy.
It's difficult. You seem to be more loose and sort of fly by the seat of your pants.
Yeah, it is, and that's how I interpreted. You know, shooting from the lip. It's a shoot. I mean, there's no. Yeah, I do a little bit of prepping, but I don't want to know every little detail. Yeah, I want to know enough to get the conversation started, and then just let it go. Yeah.
I find myself when I do it, and I'm not the best speaker. I'm not. I tend to speak a little slower than most people. I think about what I want to say, and that's not necessarily great for a podcast. So I end up spending so much time editing to try to make myself not sound stupid.
I've done that too.
That it becomes a
little
time
bit of the
management
dead air and
situation.
The I've done all. Because there's times when people can listen to an audio version. Because right now I don't do this with the video, but the audio, if I know that there's a lot of cleanup, I'll do the cleanup. And then if someone listens to the audio version, they're like, "You're amazing." But no, I just cleaned it up quite a bit. I turned a 30-minute conversation audio-wise into maybe 20 minutes. I chopped 10 minutes off.
Yeah. And it becomes a very solitary mission because you spend
Well, I
so
used to
much
do.
time.
I was so freaking anal early, but now I've kind of just like, no, I can't do that.
Yeah.
It's too time consuming.
Well, and that's what I'm thinking, that if the podcast is going to continue to move forward, I'll probably just have to drop the editing portion because that's the most time consuming portion of it. It's nothing for me really. In fact, I really enjoy, like you, we just met.
Right.
I could sit and talk to you for hours.
I think
I don't
so.
even know you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
We can. I mean, we can find some common shit to talk about.
Like that's what I'm saying though. It's like sitting down and having an interesting conversation with an interesting person. I could do that all day long. Editing that conversation, it not only is it not enjoyable, it's just tough to find all that time. Man.
Exactly. And I've stopped. I know. I make a mental note that there's certain parts of a podcast that has to come out, but for the most part, I do very, very little editing anymore.
Right.
Because it's to me, I want it to be raw and natural. So.
Well, it's going to be CrasherCast raw.
I like that.
From here on out. If it continues to happen, it's going to be
but
a very.
The thing
much
is, the more you do it, the repetition, you get better.
Yeah.
So, Jesse Vest, Louisville Crashers, CrasherCast. Pleasure was mine, man. Had a lot of fun. Hey, you have a standing invite to come on the show anytime, especially our little trending news topics, because I think
is that happening tonight?
It is. I mean, if you're going to be around, if you're not rushed, stick around. I have one more segment. One segment before I do that. That segment will start probably about 9:40. So if you're not in a rush, hang around for a little bit. Kevin Cummings joined. That's part of the thing is that he comes on right before he does his gig, and we talk trending news. So
all right.
If not tonight, any other night. You have a standing invite.
If you see me here at 9:40, you'll know I'm sticking around.
Very cool.
So if not,
all right.
Thank you for having me. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to do it again because I think there's just so much more stuff that we can talk about. So, congrats on the 10 years with the Crashers. Again, Louisville Crashers, arguably the premier band in town. 10 years of killing it. Jesse, thanks for hanging out with me. All right, man.
Let's get busy.
All right, guys, Kevin Hale here in the Baxter's 942 house on this Tuesday night, September 25th, 2018. Our on-site recording, it is Shooting from the Lip, episode 353, segment number 4 tonight. Got some of my buddies with me, Rikki Little Erick Kleinhelter, promoting something weird.
Very.
We Are the Weirdos.
That's right.
Resurrection. First of all, how are you guys doing?
Good.
We're good.
Real good.
Last time you guys were on, you were here promoting your new business.
Yes, sir.
Remind me, when you came on, was it before the grand? It was before the grand opening, wasn't it? Was it
The week of.
Yeah,
the week of?
Yeah.
So how long ago has that been?
What? 5 months, 6 months,
Has it been really?
something like that.
Yeah, we have been open a little over 6 months.
Is that what's the difference between open
like our
and open?
soft open and then our grand opening. Like the difference between those. I don't remember when we did the grand opening.
That was after Friday the 13th.
After the April Friday the 13th? Oh, that's right. It was April 14th.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That's right.
Why do I remember this and you don't?
Because the only thing on my mind is We Are the Weirdos Resurrection.
Let's jump in. Tell us about this. What is this about?
This is the best variety show you are going to see in this city, and I am very biased, okay? But I handpicked the talent for this show.
And there are some talented
Yes,
people in this.
there are some very talented weirdos in Louisville, very, very talented weirdos, and I see them performing on other people's shows, and I want them for my show. So I go talk to them, and I say, hey, I want to spotlight your amazing, incredible, strange talent. Will you come be on the Weirdos show? It's a rotating cast, so like when we have a show, it's a different cast every time. You may see some of the same performers, but it's not like a troupe. We just spotlight some of the standouts in the city that are bringing something different than what you're seeing anywhere else.
And who you're bringing in basically alongside you, because you're involved in this too.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Let's be honest. Your skill set will lend to this this event. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, I don't think anybody's going to be disappointed that I'm performing on the show. I may be the only person disappointed that I'm performing on the show.
Look at his smile over there. Has she ever disappointed? Any of her performances ever disappointed you, Eric?
No.
I was gonna say.
No. Not one.
So is this a collaborative effort with you guys, or is it really your?
Well, so Eric and I produce this.
Right.
He is the financial backer and has wonderful ideas that I go, ooh, yeah, how can I take that and make it part of this show? Brother Ravens is sponsoring it as well, with an awesome tattoo gift certificate giveaway, $300. And that anybody who comes to the show is eligible to win that as well. So it's not something extra they have to purchase.
Right.
Just come over to the Brother Ravens booth and give them your information, and you get entered for, possibly winning $300 worth of tattoo.
That's a lot. That's a decent amount of ink. $300.
Yeah. Yeah, and I move quick. I do a lot of work. So.
Yeah. You're like, I don't get paid by the hour. I want to get this out. Right? So this event, you got aerial, slideshow, burlesque, drag live, music body, paint. I want you to elaborate on these. I'm just throwing these out, but give us aerials.
Okay, so aerials. When most people think aerials, they think Cirque du Soleil. That can be done on a smaller scale, and there are a lot of really awesome aerialists right here in Louisville doing cool
I was thinking
stuff.
the same thing, but how are you scaling it down for?
Okay, well, it only has to be scaled down slightly for this event because it's happening at Art Sanctuary. So this is a wonderful venue with high ceilings.
I've not been. Okay, there you go. All right.
Yeah, it is a fantastic venue. It's very upscale. It's going to be really nice. I will be performing aerial hoop improv to the Ass Haulers, which I'm super excited about. I've got to do improv with them before, and I love their music. They're also heavying things up for our show. Yeah. So think that same rockabilly, psychobilly sound that you're used to out of them, but just make it dirty. So I'm going to be doing aerial hoop along with them, and then we have the amazing Terry Kendall, founder of Exalt Talent, doing aerial rope as well, which is something that's not seen a whole lot around Louisville right now.
Give me a visual because the aerial rope. I can't.
So most people are familiar with aerial silks,
Right.
and the rope is very similar to the silks,
Okay.
but it's a single pole hanging instead of two poles hanging. So, silks is normally divided into two.
Right.
You can split them. Rope works similar, but she's got just that one piece of equipment that she's climbing on. So it's really cool. Very athletic.
I was gonna say, yeah.
Yeah, Terry's a beast.
Yeah, I'm sure. So then what's the? Go ahead.
Sideshow. Well, I mean, that's all things strange and unusual fall under the sideshow banner. We have Octoclaw and Ember, two infamous sideshow performers from Louisville that are going to be joining us for the show. Octoclaw is actually our master of ceremonies for the night as well. So he will be, enthralling audiences all night long with his antics. Ember is bringing some really cool sideshow stuff along with her. She's no longer living in Louisville. She's out of New Orleans now, but she's still a native and traveling through the area, and I begged her to make her dates work out.
Good. Very cool. And then obviously the burlesque, and go ahead.
Yeah, burlesque. We've got a couple of different burlesque dancers joining us on this show. Miss Kitty Von Byrne and Ember will be doing their
Sexy
sultry
thing,
striptease thing. Our drag kings and queens are going to be joining us for this one. Stevie Dix, TB Sparrow. We also have Mr. Tickles. And I don't want to spoil anything, but Mr. Tickles is going to be around. He's one of our favorite weirdos in this city. If you are unfamiliar, then you got to fix that. You got to fix that.
I got to look.
I
He's
will
got a
personally
Facebook
introduce
page.
you.
Please.
He's got a Facebook page, though. Go look him up. And then the Ass Haulers, of course, are our live music for the night. So excited to be
Body
working with him
painting.
again.
Who's doing that?
So Steve O'Shepard is going to be there painting.
Yeah, he's bad at it.
Oh, yes, he is. Yes, he is. He's going to be painting some of our performers just to give an extra pop to the feel of everything for the night. And then he will be available to paint audience members after 10:30. So he'll be missing for the first part of the show. He's doing a charity event elsewhere, but he didn't want to miss out on the Weirdos Fund, so he'll be back to be available for any audience members who want to get painted up for the evening after 10:30. So they should definitely stop by and see him.
So you got the doors open at 8, show starts at 9. How long will this last?
Probably around midnight. You know, if all things go according to schedule, we should be wrapping up
take.
11:30, 12 o'clock,
Give or
somewhere in there. Still time to get your hands into some other nightlife in Louisville, which I don't know what else is really going on now that our biggest competition for patrons got washed away.
They have a rain out.
Yeah. I'm not complaining.
Sorry, not sorry.
Right. I really hate to see so many people missing out on something that they had planned, but I'm really happy that we have the opportunity to
we
show
are
our stuff to
offering
more people.
Discounts. Yeah.
Aren't you? Was it you that posted if they brought their ticket? Is it?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
okay,
If they bring proof that they had tickets to Louder Than Life, we'll offer our pre-sale price at the door to them.
Yeah. Okay, that's cool.
Just, I know, even though they may have chosen another event over us,
We're not
we will
mad
be
at you.
nice.
We're not mad at you.
We'll throw them a bone.
Yeah. There you go.
We'll let them save $5.
Yeah. Even though you thought we were second best. It's okay. It's okay. It's all right.
How did you compile the talent for this?
Well, we
Is
did
there a
3.
rhyme or reason? Was there this conceptual?
Well, it's a little selfish.
Okay. Because I'm looking at the name at the top, who's like fucking amazing. Just start there.
Well, I mean, I don't want to toot my own horn.
Eric, toot it. Give us a toot.
Toot.
Yeah.
I am the least of what people are going to want to see. Everybody else that's on this show are people that I love to see them perform. And we've got a couple of up-and-comers on there as well. They're people who have been more involved in group aspects, and now they're going to get to shine as a little more solo as well. Like, say, Rollerbola Mo. She is an up-and-comer. You probably haven't heard of her. She's an amazing circus performer. Local, yeah.
Okay.
Every single person on this show is either
definitely
currently local or they are a native of Louisville.
Okay, gotcha.
But Rollerbola Mo is bringing something that she is the only person in the state of Kentucky doing this act. It's a pretty rare circus act, and I think she's going to blow people's minds. So it's definitely somebody to watch.
Appearances by, you got a few people. What's the story there?
So these are lovely kittens. They are going to be helping out through the night, walking around in the audience, interacting, taking people's money to show appreciation for those performers and giving us a hand on stage as well. So they're eye candy and just a whole lot of fun.
You concur?
I definitely concur.
How long has this been in the making? I know you guys talked on your producing this and stuff. How long had this?
Well, we did 3 shows last year, but they were all on a smaller scale. We did them all at the now defunct Cure Lounge.
Yeah, which I've been, because the Ash Haulers, weren't they were involved in, I think I remember a couple of them, right? Or at least one.
So not with our show.
Oh, okay.
They were involved in another show that I performed on.
Yeah. You performed, that's right.
Yes, I did. I danced with them at the Cure Lounge. It just wasn't one of my shows. But we did the 3 shows there last year. All of them performed very well. You know, we had big numbers. We sold out. We sold the bar out of Bourbon. But then we had venue issues. We kind of outgrew the Cure Lounge. We wanted to move elsewhere. We tried to find somewhere that was affordable.
And then we
it was-
decided to open a tattoo shop.
Yeah, it was such a huge struggle. And then we opened the tattoo shop, and that kind of put things off a little bit while we were on that venue hunt. We decided to settle for the Cure Lounge again after they restructured and redid their back room. We'd heard really great things. And we booked a date with them, and then they closed. So we were in a scramble again to find a venue. Lisa Fry at Art Sanctuary was really wonderful to work with. You know, she wanted to see some local talent come in there, so we were like, all right, you know, if you're willing to work with us, this is where we would love to be, and hopefully we can do the venue justice, because it is so
It's
so
awesome.
big and so beautiful. I hope that the Weirdos will really shine there, and I know that people are going to love it as a space to see a show.
Yeah, I've got Lisa coming on next month because she's with the Vixens.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Okay. Burlesque in town. It's happening.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
I mean,
And I'm really happy to see how big it's coming up, and how around all of Louisville's blue laws that it's still happening, and happening in a way that people are happy to see it.
well, you go back there. The laws part. What about Louisville handcuffs you, or ties to you?
Well,
restrictions?
I can't tell you exactly because they aren't actually on the books anywhere. They kind of come in and find people as they want to find them. And so sometimes this thing is okay, and then sometimes it's not. But we do everything that we can just to make sure
So there's
that
no. There's no written rule, or or law, whatever.
as far as I've been made to understand,
Yeah.
it kind of changes from agent to agent. And it's a source of frustration for a lot of the local clubs.
With the burlesque thing, nudity is. No.
You are not going to see full nudity in a burlesque show because of the blue laws.
Here, but isn't like in Lexington it's okay, or
In Lexington, they still typically
Do they?
go to pasties and a thong.
Okay.
And that's usually about what you'll see in Louisville.
which I think
It comes down to alcohol sales.
Yeah.
If
Oh, there you go.
if you
Right.
want to see full nudity, you can't
Yeah.
have alcohol sales
Right.
at the venue, and that's pretty much anywhere.
Anywhere, right.
And Louisville loves their liquor. Let's face it.
Yes, they do. And you know what? You all can still, do your thing with the pace.
Oh, yeah.
Right, right. Yeah, these
And-
ladies are rocking it, and I think it's
definitely.
better to leave a little something to the imagination anyway.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
But the Weirdo Show's not a burlesque show.
But it's not a right.
It's there's so much else going on. Burlesque is a small part of what we want to do. It's a really awesome art, and I definitely want to highlight it. And we have a lot of talented burlesque dancers here in the city that I want to spotlight. But it is different than just a burlesque show.
Is this show the first show that you're doing under this name?
No.
Or
So we have
Like-
done, all of the other shows have been We Are the Weirdos.
it is okay. All
But
right.
this is the first one where we've had a big, nice venue
Gotcha.
to really try to fill it out and have capabilities to do aerials. There was no aerial capability at all at the Cure Lounge with the lower ceilings and nothing
that's
to
how I
even tie
envisioned.
into.
Yeah, that was my visual.
Yeah.
How are you pulling that off?
We've got
Yeah.
20-foot ceilings to
Yeah.
work with at
Okay.
Art Sanctuary, so full-on
taller than
aerial
that.
acts, death-defying drops, that sort of thing.
So, We Are the Weirdos is the event name, but then you add, like in this case, it's Resurrection,
Yes.
so it's a different kind of a theme, or
Yes.
Okay.
Just a little more interesting than numbering them.
Yeah, I like that. I like it. Yeah, come up with that. Art Sanctuary. I'm not familiar with that place. So it's on 1433 South Shelby Street. So
Yes.
kind of close.
Yeah, it's actually just down the road from the Cure Lounge.
Right.
So we're staying, close to home. It's they started doing the Vixen shows there last year when they got their liquor license so that they can have bigger events there. Not have to lease out to some of these other venues in town.
Right.
But they're in the same vein as headliners or a little smaller than Mercury Ballroom. But I think capacity of like 600 people. It's a large
Really?
space.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And it's got an awesome vibe. tall ceilings,
chandeliers. I mean, it is
huge
also an art
Have you all done
gallery.
anything there before?
No.
This
This is our first time
with them.
hosting anything there. We've been to the Vixen show
been there.
there, and I mean,
Okay.
it was amazing.
Good.
Full-size stage, theater stage.
I was thinking, because Stephen Clark was here, I would say a couple weeks ago, promoting just the Ass Haulers. He said something, that he's doing something where he's up, elevated or something. What is that?
Possibly.
Right?
Well-
Possibly.
I'm like, well, and he didn't go into a lot of detail.
They
You
have,
got to come and see it yourself, kind of thing.
Yeah.
They have a rack on the back of the stage, where you can be on a couple of different levels. And we talked about putting them up there if it's going to be safe to do so.
Clark, he's
yeah.
game. He'll be game.
Yeah,
We
we
might
like
just put him in a
Steven's a good
harness
guy.
and hang him there anyway.
Stephen, very. I still think he's.
I
as a
think
friend,
he-
he's a creative genius.
I think he should do the guitars from Mad Max. Just have him hanging.
Oh, I like that.
Witness me.
Right.
So this is this coming Saturday, September
Friday.
28th.
Friday.
Oh,
Friday.
yeah, Friday.
Yeah,
What is today? Oh, yeah, you're right. Friday.
Yeah,
Duh, Friday.
you're off a day.
September 28th, this Friday. Doors open at 8. Show at 9. General admission. You got seat. How much? I mean, you got still got.
We have pre-sale and then door price. Everything goes up $5 at the door. And when I say that, you see like VIP table goes up $25 because it seats 5 people. So everything goes up $5 a head, basically. Though we are honoring that pre-sale price for the people with Louder Than Life tickets. So you can purchase online through our Facebook event page, or if you see a flyer hanging up around town, you can always scan the QR code and it'll take you directly to ticket sales. We do have some VIP seats left. I think we have VIP booths.
2 booths left, I think.
The booths are really nice. They're in front row, front row views on the couch, seats 5 people. You get a bottle of sparkling wine as well.
Comes with the
So
table.
a little swanky. We've got room for a couple of those left. And then general admission, there's still, like I said, it holds 600 people. We've come from a venue that we were selling out at 200. So we got lots of space to fill. People need to come see us.
Right.
I'm planning on coming. So.
Something else that came along with all that extra space, though, is room for vendors. And we have some really cool vendors at this event.
Local artists and
Yeah, we're featuring some
Can you
different.
share who's?
Currently, and we're still taking some vendor applications as well. We currently have Brett Gray art, lots of charcoal drawings, really cool stuff.
Rob Stepp.
Yeah, Rob Stepp from Blood, Sweat, and Lead. He does some really cool illustrations as well. Kemper James Videography is going to be there talking to
Steve-O.
people.
Yeah, Steve.
Yeah, Steve-O will be doing his body painting. We also have the ladies from Harlots and Hellions. They're doing Babes of Metal burlesque in November.
Here in town?
Yes, here in town. And they are setting up a kissing booth, raising money for their show.
A kissing booth.
A kissing booth.
We definitely support that.
Yes.
Really, a kissing booth.
A kissing booth. They have different
Yes.
prices for hugs, kisses, and spankings, I
And
believe.
I believe they're going to be dressed up as Kiss.
As the members of Kiss, yes.
Kissing.
Genius.
Right?
That's genius. Yeah.
So yeah, there's going to be some cool vendors set up, selling some different wares, and
And
just
of
some
course,
fun stuff.
Brother Ravens will have a booth there.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, come over and talk to them about setting up an appointment. They
And
may be making
registering
some
for your awesome
deals.
$300
Yeah, I like that.
tattoo.
Let me see that.
Definitely.
There you go. Check that out.
Brother Ravens. Y'all can see that, Brother Ravens. $300. Brother Ravens, just a quick shout out. They are at 11509 Shelbyville Road, Suite F in Louisville, Middletown. So, without going into detail, have you already got your outfit? Outfit or fits?
I'm doing 2 sets
Yeah.
on Friday, so outfits.
Are you? Do you know what she's?
I know the theme for the first act.
Yeah, but you don't. Oh, you don't know
Yeah.
the. Oh.
Yeah, I know it's like a 50s pinup kind of zombie thing.
50 zombie? Really?
That's the first
real?
act. That's all, and it's a duo act. It's not just hers.
It is a macabre variety show.
like
You never
that.
know
Yeah,
what you're
yeah,
going to
that's a
see.
good
And
point,
we've got Steve-O painting people.
Yeah.
Yeah, she'll be performing with Lady Phoenix
Yeah.
in the first act.
First act.
So
Are you going to look? How amazing are you going to look?
I mean, look at her.
I know. Yeah. I mean, I'm seeing now, and I'm trying to.
There's a reason I
I'm
married
trying to
her.
tone it down a little bit, but I've seen you at at one of these events, and you dazzled me there. So
Well,
we're gonna be
I'll do my
dazzled.
best.
Okay, you're right. All right.
Dazzle easy.
Yeah,
people are easily impressed nowadays.
All right, We Are the Weirdos Resurrection this Friday night, September 28th at Art Sanctuary, 1433 South Shelby Street. Doors open at 8, show at 9. Final parting words before we
Help keep Louisville weird.
help keep Louisville weird, right?
Louisville
Where
Make
can-
Louisville weirder.
This is the show that you don't want to miss this year.
Right. Support your local artist.
Where can everybody connect with you guys on social media?
We are the Weirdos on Facebook. We are WATW Variety Show on Instagram.
Gotcha.
And then anything Brother Ravens, it'll come
Yeah,
up.
we
Trust
gotta-
me. All you gotta type in is Brother Ravens. It's coming up.
Yeah. There you go. Rikki and Eric, thanks so much for hanging out.
Thanks.
Good stuff.
Thanks for having
Good-
us.
Good luck for this. I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, it's gonna be awesome.
It'll be fun. And shout out to our buddy Stephen Clark and the Ass Haulers.
Steven,
Yeah, we miss you.
wish you were here, buddy.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, guys.
Let's get busy.
All right, guys. Last segment of the night here at Baxter's 942, our on-site recording. It's Shooting from the Lip, episode 353, on this Tuesday night, September 25th, 2018. Last segment, Trending News. My man Kevin Cummings, right before he does his Standing Tuesday gig. Kevin, what's up, my brother?
Not much, my friend. Glad to be here.
Yeah, Jesse Vest, who was on earlier, Louisville Crashers, hanging out with us. You want to talk? You want to talk something other than music?
I'm just excited to have the opportunity to maybe talk about something that I don't normally get to talk about.
Well, if you will,
I can't decide if I hope that I agree with you or I hope that I can disagree with you the whole time. I haven't decided yet.
Well, we'll see.
Either way, I'll
test
like
that
you, I
theory.
promise.
Yeah.
You're gonna disagree with me.
Oh, good. That'll be fun.
Yeah, I kind of call this segment to my round of shots, and it's just I throw out different topics to the guys and let you get your take. One of the big news items today, Bill Cosby. Did you see that?
3 years.
Was it not? No, was it 3?
3 to 10.
3 to 10.
No.
So a year and a half.
It's probably going to be a
Year and a half.
So
Yeah.
he's 81. When I first saw that 3 to 10, he's still Bill Cosby. You even think, Kev, he's going to serve any time? Actually, jail time, prison time, whatever.
Man, I honestly don't know. The number 3 is so low that they have some ways to really wiggle. And I don't know if you guys know this, but he's actually wealthy. And a lot of times, again, you probably don't know this, but a lot of times wealthy people get an easier go in the justice system. So,
Yeah.
10 years after 50 accusers is quite a minimal sentence.
yeah, for sure.
Jesse.
I agree. He's got money. He's still spending Fat Albert money.
Yeah.
Exactly.
He's still getting more of it.
Yeah, he's not hurting for money. So some lawyer somewhere will find a way to get him back on house arrest.
I definitely
or
feel like
something.
regardless his life is, I feel like his life was ruined. So I feel
Yeah,
like
I mean it's
There's
a
at least
sad thing
justice in
where-
that.
Yeah, well the thing is that
Self-ruin.
justice.
Oh, yeah, don't mean it like, poor motherfucker was walking around and somebody ruined his life. My point, though, is that even if they didn't, which they did, but even if they
There's
didn't
your
give him jail
first
time.
F-bomb for this segment.
Is one of those circumstances where justice is just not going to be served. I mean, if he raped 50 women and he's 81 years old, he got to live a full life as a wealthy man.
Yeah, fuck that.
Yeah.
He's gonna die, and he's had a full life. It's, justice won't be served. Even if he spends the rest of his life in jail, it's not justice.
I wonder, was there any of those victims that had filed a civil suit to potentially get something?
I think several of them did. I don't really know. I think that a lot of them, almost always, they just settle. I mean, that's what always ends up happening.
Yeah, they settle out of court. Yeah, he settled several, if I remember correctly.
There was at least rumors of it. I don't really know what. Yeah, but I heard there were definitely rumors of him settling out of court with a lot of people.
One of the other things that happened today, El Presidente, number 45, Mr. Trump, he bragged about his some accomplishments at the UN, which generated world leaders an LOL. They literally laughed out loud. What does that say about, really, what does that say about our president gets a response like it? I mean, he wasn't saying it for
I think that the world leaders seem to think he's a joke, and yet people that burn their shoes in their backyard think he's awesome. So I feel like maybe I know which one of those people I want to side with, and it's not the shoe burners.
Is it they burned the shoes? It was the Nike thing, not because there wasn't any crosses readily available, right?
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, that's my opinion on it. Like, I mean, like he seems to be. I mean, it's a joke for a reason. I mean, he's a joke. Even if his policies were awesome, I still think he's a joke as a human.
He is. He's a buffoon. That's the word for it. He's just a buffoon.
Of course they're not. Yeah.
Well, let's get your Jesse. You're the new guy here. What politically where you stand with Trump?
I don't stand with him very much at all. I'm more of a libertarian guy, which he is not. He's all about starting trade wars and tariffs and more military spending and things like that. I just don't see that stuff. I'm more of a let's spend less money.
Amen.
How about I pay less taxes? How about that? How about everybody pay less taxes? So,
you running for office?
No.
Okay.
No, because I wouldn't win, and if I did, somebody would shoot me.
Yeah.
No, but he's a buffoon. He literally is the first president he won a popularity contest.
Technically lost the popularity contest.
Technically lost it, but he bucked the status quo, which was resonated to a lot of people.
Yeah, he's one of those guys that that appeals to some people. They feel like if a guy walks into a room and he speaks with confidence and bravado, then they automatically think he knows what he's talking about, even though he doesn't.
All right, Bourbon and Beyond, the festival thing. We know what's the Tuesday? Sunday's show, the event got canceled due to weather, and then this coming weekend, Louder Than Life, totally canceled.
Brutal.
What's your take when it comes to these festivals? In this case, like at Champions Park, whatever. Where weather can play a factor. I mean,
just got to swing it, I guess. I mean, like last year was amazing, and very likely next year will be good. I mean, I don't know. I went Saturday, and it was brutal and amazing at the same time. The shows were awesome, but it was,
Mayor killed it, didn't he?
Mayor fucking murdered it. He was amazing, and Lenny Kravitz was awesome, and Sheryl Crow was awesome, and yeah, it was great. But I mean, yeah, it's just part of it, I guess. I mean, at least they refund the people. I mean, shit happens. They need to find a better place than that park.
It's all a gamble.
But is it a gamble enough to move it to another? Because
I think they could do it better than that spot for sure.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know where you'd move it. I mean,
the fairgrounds is one place that they had suggested.
Yeah.
Just somewhere where there's some concrete.
Exactly.
And that water rolls.
That's what I was thinking. Like, I went to Bonnaroo and it rained the whole time one year, and it was still a million times better because there was so much more concrete and stuff that not swim in. But I missed Robert fucking Plant, which was still sad about.
Yeah. You guys, sports guys, a little bit
ish.
Sports. Well, let me throw this at you. Super Bowl, they announced Maroon 5. And this, I'm bringing this up because it's got some. Actually, the NFL is getting a lot of heat over because they don't perceive Maroon 5 as a testosterone type of halftime show. It's kind of more catered to the female persuasion. When it comes to something like that.
Well, it makes complete sense. All the guys are going to watch the game anyway because it's the NFL Super Bowl, and then the girls will watch it because they love that girl, Adam Levine. She's very pretty. She sings great, dances well. I don't know why you're hating on her.
Got moves like what's his name? The guy in
moves like Jagger.
Yeah.
I think it doesn't matter who they put in there. I mean, you want to see, typically you want to see a big legacy artist in there, but we're running out of those. They've sort
Well,
of...
like it or not, Maroon 5 will be that. I mean, they're going to have the ultimate. I mean, they're ridiculously successful.
Yeah, and it's not that they don't have the material.
It is definitely the least masculine band in the history of the world, including the Rascal Flatts. So I don't understand, but teach their own. Katy Perry's could probably beat up Adam Levine. I feel like I would bet on that.
She could beat me up.
I would let her for sure if that's the question.
Yeah, this next one, I'm familiar with Eminem. I actually like a lot of Eminem's music. I'm not familiar with MGK. I actually really didn't know until now. I've seen it. This beef between the two of them. Kevin, help me. What was that all about?
I mean, money is what I mean. If Machine Gun Kelly ultimately made a lot of money by saying something annoying enough to Eminem put him song. All Eminem did was put a couple lines in a song about shitty mumble rap, and then Machine Gun Kelly writes the whole song, which was genius because then now he gets. I mean, he's bigger now than he's ever been, and it'll immediately die down probably after people realize he's not that good.
Yeah, it definitely is a gimmick. It's a ploy because now people like you actually know who MGK is.
Right.
And I didn't before this.
But considering the depth or lack thereof of his music, I mean, to me, it's like, whatever, just have fun with it. I don't give a shit. I mean, it's not like he's a real artist in my mind.
Well, I'm not a rap fan at all, but when I watched that video, I watched it twice, and it's remarkable how people can do things with wordplay. And you're more of a songwriter, probably, so maybe you have
his lyrical game is like.
I mean, Eminem to me is like a genius.
No, your lyrical game.
Oh, well, thank you.
But to be able to do that wordplay and to come up with those, it really blows my mind. I'm not a rap guy at all, but I have a serious appreciation for that.
I just, for me though, the reason I liked Eminem was when he said things that he wanted to say about something that meant something to him. I don't really give a shit about I mean, it's fine though. It's kind of like it's gimmicky instead of art. Just, I think Tupac, Biggie, and there's plenty of rap that I would consider in the category of art where they're attempting to say something important. But I mean, all that to me is the same as Maroon 5.
More like shock value though, with them.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that shocking, though. I mean, all their songs are about beating the shit out of people and robbing people, and I mean, it's not. I don't mean those two in particular, but I mean, the genre is not really the most uplifting or artistic genre in the world.
All right, check this out, guys. A man in France has been jailed and is the first to receive a fine for catcalling. Catcalling. And in this hashtag #MeToo movement.
Where was this?
France. Catcalling. And not just catcalling, he also groped or smacked.
Well, that's very different.
Those are very different things.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. What's very different?
Catcalling and groping.
Yeah.
But the catcalling is part of what got him. Not just the grope, not just the smacking the ass, but the catcalling is one of the things that got him fined and. Did he get arrested? Oh. I guess my point is the Me Too movement.
It's terrifying.
It's a little scary.
It's very scary because when I look back on my life, I've been a pretty reserved guy, but I look back on my life and I think, you know what? There are things that somebody could call me out on, Yeah. And I'm a good guy.
Who the fuck can say that?
Yeah.
Right. And that's just. But here's the thing, though. Here's what I'm getting at: is that you musicians are just always interacting with people. If we're having a good time with people yesterday, years ago, and all of a sudden maybe we rub them the wrong way today. Technically, I mean, they could call us out.
I think we're safe because if you notice all these Me Too movement things that are happening, none of them are focused on musicians.
I was gonna say none of us are. None of them are focused on middle class people either. They're fucking rich people.
No, that's true.
They don't give a shit about me.
Yeah, no, there's no money in it coming after us. But musicians in general, it's almost expected that they're going to behave that way. It's more the movie stars and the politicians that are sort of.
I mean, the bottom line is it should be treated like any other crime. Any other crime, like if if some girl says, hey, Kevin came to my house and stole $1,000 out of my safe, she'd have to have some evidence to prove it. Whereas if she says, he sexually assaulted me, well, then she's right. Well, it's like, no, in both cases.
You still have to.
Or if she says, Kevin might have stolen $1,000 out of my safe 34 years ago.
Yeah.
That's kind of tough.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And people are going to believe her, and it's going to ruin your life, even though she has no evidence.
Yeah.
So
I
that's
really
why
deeply believe that the pendulum issue is so true. I mean, it's just find the middle. Like, we don't want to go too far either way, but it's like the shirts right now, and I get the sentiment of it. It says believe women. It's like, of course, believe women when evidence is behind it, but believe people. You can't believe people. Men and women lie a whole lot. So in all cases, I just feel like there should be due process of law like any other thing in the whole wide world. Please.
Want to talk that? Jump in. Go ahead. Speak. Oh, you can't?
What?
All right. Okay. Next topic.
I wasn't ready.
All right.
I had a little too much.
All right. Well,
I gotta think about what I was gonna say.
you might lend some feedback on this next one. Some Texas residents, I quote them, "It's creepy and gross." Do you know what they were talking about? They were voicing concerns about a robot sex brothel that's opening up.
Oh yeah.
I haven't heard that.
A robot sex brothel. That's where we're at, guys. You can.
Well,
Okay, going back to the Kavanaugh thing, I really think
we weren't
that-
actually talking about Kavanaugh.
Yeah, but
Oh, okay.
but you.
Well, that's what I thought you were talking
No,
about.
I did make.
He did make a
I
reference,
made
that's right.
an allusion to it.
Yeah.
But we weren't.
Well,
I
we could-
agree.
we
You
could
should
stay
not.
there. Go
You
ahead.
should not blindly believe the woman. But when I think that she has given other names that were at that party, and that do not necessarily testify one way or the other. And she's also, discussed this with her therapist for the last 10 years. So I don't think that this is something that she's making up. I think this and she's, she's a doctor. She's had her PhD. She's not like
Yeah,
just
she's
some
not,
average
right,
Joe off
exactly.
the street. She seems very credible.
Some average Joe on the street, she still deserves the credibility, the chance to be a credible witness. You don't have to be some doctor just to
No, fair. You're right.
just to enhance your credibility. There's so many people who are just average Joes off the street, and because they're average Joes, they're not taken seriously. And so, yes, there should be due process. There should be, but like she said, she has been talking about this for multiple years. There are multiple people she's talked to about this. This
Yeah,
is
a lot
not
of
just
people, right.
this is not just some random thing
Right.
that, oh, by the way, I was sexually assaulted by a guy who happens to be running for the Supreme Court. Like, it's not just some random thing.
There's history
Right.
along the process. But here's
My
the
point
thing.
wasn't even about the particular issue, or about the Kavanaugh issue. I was literally just saying the idea that any random thing becomes outside of the realm of, like, now, okay, we treat justice when it comes to murder differently than we would sexual assault. Like, that seems so odd. It's like if I just said, well, that guy murdered somebody, I'd have to,
You'd have to come
all
up with
I'm
some
saying is that
evidence, yeah.
people, men and women, all of us fucking lie almost every single day. Now, I'm not about sexual assault. That's not a common lie. But my point is the idea that either gender is more honest than the other, or that either gender wouldn't fucking lie to ruin someone else's life. There's been plenty of times where I've been like, if I knew I could say one lie and ruin somebody's life, it would have been tempting,
I think that what it illustrates is the importance of if a woman or a man, for that matter, if somebody is a victim of sexual assault, it's important that you deal with it immediately. Get the police
You're right.
involved.
Yeah, it is important that you deal with that
because
immediately.
if you come
But that's
if you
not always
come
the case.
later and there's no evidence and there's no
It
way
makes it hard to convict somebody, of
It
course.
does, yeah.
But the thing is,
I mean,
is
also,
that
it's not like if you're blessed and you're a 9-year-old girl, it's not that easy to be like, well, I should have definitely come on.
Oh yeah, I'm not talking about a
yeah, of
9-year-old
course,
girl.
it's like
I'm just saying, I mean,
I'm not talking
regardless
about
of your
that.
age, though.
Well, all right, here's the other thing. Why is it
why is the public so receptive to little boys who were violated by priests who come out
Great example.
come out 30 years after the fact versus
And they believe them without question, and then when the
they're
female
ready to
comes
start
out,
fighting for them right away.
I will say I think there's a real obvious answer to that, and I don't think it's that great of a metaphor. I keep seeing the memes because one is an obvious, like, I mean, if for instance, if someone said, "Hey, this guy over here, Billy Bob, did this, to me when I was younger," that's one thing. But if all of a sudden 1,000 people say all of the people at this Walmart keep molesting me, it's sure. I mean, the numbers just really added into the heaviness of obviously this is a real issue. That is not the same thing as one woman versus one man. I know what you're saying, but I mean, it was a systemic, it was an institutional problem that was so obvious that
it's fair.
It was. I mean, it's hard to not believe anybody when you hear that many things at once against the wonderful institution of the Catholic Church.
Like continue with that because there are multiple assaults on gay population, on women, on men as well, that wouldn't necessarily be obvious, but it's not talked about because they're not taken seriously. It may be obvious, but it's not taken seriously because, oh, you're gay, you deserve that. Was the common belief back in the day, like
or how she was dressed,
right? How she it's still used. How she was dressed is 100% still used. She was.
I mean, I see what you're saying, but I don't think that's the. I think that we've come a long way when it comes to that. But I think that if you look at Facebook, it doesn't seem like we have. But I mean, I think when the people that actually have the ability to put on a suit and go to work are smarter than that and understand that it's not about how she dresses.
Well, I mean, outside of Facebook, you want to talk about Facebook, but like less than 1% of rape cases are prosecuted, and that less than 1% of rapists go to jail because they're not taken seriously. Like it is a systemic thing, but that is like the Catholic Church in general, a little messed up, I'll say, but like it's not just about it being systemic because it's systemic in multiple areas. It's just not taken as seriously because the church is taken more seriously than other aspects of society.
Kev, I think I found my sideline reporter right here. All right, let me go back to it. We got a couple of topics on it, and you got to get ready to play. I want to go back to the brothel in Houston. Residents aren't happy. Check this out.
Why would that not be a good thing? I mean, the people in there fucking robots are not going to be, out there Kavanaugh and shit.
Yeah, the owners of this kinky doll shop that's opening its location in Houston will offer sex doll rentals for as little as 30 minutes, which is more like me.
And it's half off if they don't have to clean in between.
Up to 2 hours is probably more along you guys' line. The dolls respond to touch and include verbal responses.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. H-A-L-E? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not a service I think that I would use personally. Mm-hmm. But the libertarian in me says,
do what the fuck you want.
Do what you want.
Yeah.
If
the libertarian in me wants to watch.
You've got a kinky libertarian in you.
I do, really do.
I mean, can you switch it up though? Can you fuck like R2D2 or some shit?
Like your garbage can.
You joke, but it's coming.
It's coming.
It's coming.
And people should be able to do whatever the fuck they want as long as it doesn't hurt anybody. I definitely believe that.
That's the key.
Yeah, I'm definitely not gonna fuck a robot. I mean, at least now I don't have to. Maybe when I get older and I can't sing anymore and women don't like me, I'll go to a robot house. But for now, I'm gonna use real people. But. You can use that quote.
Yeah, that's a quote.
I'm going to use real people, not going to fuck robots.
Down by the night. All right, one of the last topics I'm going to throw at you guys. There's females in here too, so I'll be welcome to get their take. We only fall in love with 3 people in our lifetime, each one for a specific reason.
Whoever says that also just asked me what my fucking sign was. That's what I think about that statement.
The first one.
What's your sign? Also, we only fall in love with 3 people, and also I've got healing essential oils.
The first one you usually meet during your teenage years, which is kind of right, during high school. The second one is supposed to be the tough love, the one that will teach you lessons. And then the third one is the one that catches us off guard, which is, kind of just falls into place. So I guess the third one, like in my case, would be,
divorced my, I'm now kind of just open to anything. So
You're
I
looking
guess
for number 3 right now.
I'm not looking, but 3 might find me. So, but what's your take on 3? I mean,
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's patterns to things. That's probably a more consistent pattern than others. But I mean, obviously,
what number? What's Lauren?
47.
I was gonna say.
Not that I mean, just that I've loved. I mean, I really. No, I mean, I don't know.
But he loves me.
Rick,
though,
what's
so-
Laura?
do love
Laura's
her.
number 3, right? Just say yes. Jesse.
She's definitely my number 1. I want you to know that. All the other girls I'm with right now aren't even close to as important as me.
Exactly.
Just kidding.
All right.
I love you, Lauren. Love you. Even though she's not listening right now, but I still feel like I should say that.
She's not listening because we're not live, but she'll listen.
That's a great point.
I'm gonna make sure she hears this segment later.
I do love you, Lauren.
All right. Let's see. Kevin, you got
What's his name?
what? You have a question or
She has a
comment?
take on this.
All right. Go. Yeah, please.
Oh, it's so close. Can I just say that it's not like I don't think it's 3 like individual people, like only 3 people. I feel like it's just 3 individual categories that people
Well,
fall
no, it's
into.
categories, right?
Okay.
Yeah, it's not per se 3.
Okay, because like that's just so restrictive.
No, well, then what's your take? I mean, what's
I don't know. I feel like, yeah, exactly. Everyone. I feel like restricting it to like number 1 age, like that's ridiculous to me. Like so many people like progress in their lives at different paces. I feel like it's kind of ridiculous to restrict it to age, and then people find the one, maybe their first person they fall in love with. So I feel like it's too restrictive. It's too broad.
Is the one even something that's reliable to think about?
I don't know. Is it?
You tell me.
I'm the one asking the questions, not you.
But yeah, realistically, honestly, that I probably do fall into the category of the 3 people. So like, I still
me
back
too.
by what I said. Like when I see that like post or something, I'm like, yeah, that chick loves astrology. But I mean, I think that's probably a closer pattern than most.
I do think for me
Yeah,
too.
and
I think
Lauren probably is number 3 for me. So
And
Number 3 for my parents too.
yeah, really? See, I'm
her mom was actually my number 2.
my,
No, my dad actually proposed to my mom up at Red River Gorge on Natural Bridge in the rain. It was very romantic.
Very romantic.
They were in a softball league, and so he put the ring in the
Softball.
glove.
softball co-ed league together. Oh wow!
No,
all right,
perfect.
all right. Last one, guys. Before you go play, this one will definitely get you ready
Do it
to
to
play.
it.
Bert and Ernie, they came out. They're gay. They were gay.
Oh man,
Did that like?
that would be the equivalent of like Shaquille O'Neal being like, "Hey guys, I'm black." It's like we all knew that shit.
Big and black. Well, seriously, I mean, does it? I mean, there's
It just
people,
doesn't
there was a
matter.
there's a backlash. So the people.
What's so
were like-
what's so sad is that people people obviously think that
didn't?
there's like some
Oh, you didn't.
kids shouldn't be exposed to
Bert and
that.
Ernie. Did you hear about that?
I heard about it, but I heard conflicting reports. Here's the thing: Bert and Ernie can't say shit because they're puppets. Okay, so the guy who wrote the parts of Bert and Ernie for a while said that he always considered them to be gay. But the guy who created Bert and Ernie actually created the characters and the puppets, said that they were not gay. So there's controversy there.
You know,
I
if you
think-
were not here tonight, we wouldn't have had that in-depth information because I didn't know that.
Well, I
All I'm
Things
saying
happen for a
is
reason.
that it's gonna have to. I mean, imagine the Pornhub puppet videos that are gonna have to happen out of this. They're gonna be.
Speaking of Pornhub, do you know Pornhub wants to become a brand, by the way? They just don't want to be a
They deserve
porn.
it. They've
They
earned
want
it at this
They
point.
want to be a
They help more
lifestyle
people than
brand.
America ever has.
When everybody talks about porn, they talk about that, right? That's what I
Exactly.
hear guys say.
What do they say?
I mean, every time they talk about porn, they say Pornhub. So
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
it already a brand?
90 million daily users on Pornhub. 90 million. You know, I'm waiting for, as a single guy, I'm waiting for Pornhub. Yeah,
Pornhole.
Pornhub 2.0 to come out because I've already gone through all of
Oh, okay.
1.0. So.
I believe that.
Kevin Cummings,
I love you guys.
Jesse Vest. We're getting ready to go watch Kevin play. Jesse, thanks for hanging out with us.
Oh,
this is a little
pleasure.
taste of this last segment. So
yeah,
let's
this
get
is
it. A little different. This is not. We won't find this on the CrasherCast. Will we?
No.
But
No,
you have carte blanche to own that seat anytime you want to on Tuesday night.
I appreciate it.
All right, look at, here, show
What's
him.
that?
Good.
Show him something.
Yeah, look at this. Jesse Vest and now Rick Hayes. Thanks for. There he is, shooting from the left. That's badass.
He's a walking
Give me your
advertisement.
shirt size too. I'll get you.
It's a little personal.
No, I know. We'll keep it offline. All right, guys. Kevin Hale signing off for tonight's Shooting from the Lip, episode 353. Peace out.